Welcome to Dark Dial. On tonight's episode, we've got quite a few interesting things to cover. I'm going to hand it over to each of our hosts, including myself, and let them introduce their topics. Gavin, if you would.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Machilia Mbembe, which is a sauropod slash some sort of dinosaur in the Congo. It's believed to be there. I did a little bit of a deep dive on it, and we're going to kind of do like a part one, I think. Because I definitely want to revisit it.
All right, and that is going to be one of our segments tonight. Jacqueline, if you'd introduce yours.
Hey, so I'm going to be doing the teleportation and time travel. And we're going to do the top 10 biggest stories on it and go through them and see what we believe and what we don't.
All right. We are also going to be taking a look. I'm going to be covering the most recent alien announcements from the Mexican UFO hearings that happened on the 13th. So that's going to be what we're gonna cover tonight, and we can jump right in if we want to here.
Yeah, I mean, that's been all over social media.
It has been exploding. I've seen, I feel like I should have made a video about it sooner, honestly. Like maybe the night it happened, because I saw that news on the night of the 13th, as it was not too long after it happened, and that is one of the most distressing isn't the correct word, but something close to distressing pieces of news that I've heard in a long time, honestly. That's paradigm shifting if what they're presenting to us is actually fact.
Yeah. I mean, it's like old news, though. Those mummified bodies are old news.
It is. Those are the bodies that were found, I believe, in 2017 in Peru.
Right? Yeah.
Peru,
They look like the little fake skeletons from the dollar store. I'm sorry. It's completely, no. It's ridiculous.
That they do.
It's ridiculous. They don't look real at all.
Oh man. It is a complete and total possibility that that's the case. We may be absolutely getting frauded by.
They look ridiculous. Come on. We have pictures, right? Like, come on. Those are ridiculous.
But we have peer review showing interesting results. They have x-rays of the bodies that show full skeletal bone structures inside the bodies that are not, while not being human in nature, still elucidate a sense of reality inside of what you're looking at. It doesn't look like it would be too far removed that something could generate in that nature.
Sorry, it took me a second to pull this up.
Do we have the other pictures that show like the scans and stuff, or no?
The scans, I do have a couple.
Yeah,
Sure
okay.
enough.
I just had to screenshot this because this is Wendy's jumping on the Mexican UAP hearing
Good for
bandwagon.
Wendy's.
Oh my gosh.
That's cool.
When they pull the last burger out of the freezer, I understand that feeling all too well, I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous how widespread it is. Honestly, I think it just makes a spectacle of the whole thing.
To an extent, it does. It's interesting that people are reacting the way they are with memery and the like, instead of absolute sheer panic over news like that. I find that a cultural response worth exploring a little bit.
Well, maybe if they're laughing about it, then it's easier to blow off, so it doesn't scare people.
Possibility.
Well, should we do the like thing and try not to blast everybody's ears out?
Yeah, no blasting ears.
All right, you guys want to try to do
it?
it?
Let's go.
That's
All right,
what's order
3,
again.
2, 1.
Like, subscribe. The last one?
Notification. It's a notification
Notification
bell.
bell.
The button.
bell button.
You know the one. You guys.
Yeah,
Do
we're
it.
fishing for subscribes. We could use them. So
Come on, we're
Please
just starting
do.
out. Let's get
you can
get
find
something
us.
started.
We say it all the time. Darkdial.com is the best place. We're gonna work on a landing page, but we do have a link there to our link tree, which gets you everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, you name it. So we're on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitch right now. Twitch being the least of our concern, but so yeah, YouTube and
Yeah,
Rumble.
true.
Find us there. Hereticus says we're gonna get memed into oblivion.
We absolutely are. You
Did-
know, that is honestly part of the plan. That is a good way to carry virality. They start making memes out of us, then everybody knows our name.
That's true.
Well, should we lead with the alien story then?
If you want to, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the
let's
newest
go for
thing.
it.
We were already kind of getting into it, so
Absolutely.
I've got some of your tabs open here. You want me to pull this one up?
Yeah. So I have them laid out pretty much in a decent order for us to look through them right now. So what we're seeing on this one is a Reuters article that just going over the general ilk of what actually was shown regarding the bodies inside of the hearing that happened in Mexico. So if we scroll down, there are a couple of up just a little bit more. I'm sorry. Yeah, that third line right there, the specimens. So if we look at that, we've got.
How do you say this gentleman's name? Is it Mosan?
I would assume Masan. That would be my assumption, but I could not tell you for sure.
Just curious, because he is everywhere. He's
Yeah.
been involved in UFO stuff in Mexico for as long as I can remember. I've seen him all over the place,
Absolutely.
And-
So
and
Oh.
not necessarily in good cases either. I think he's been wrapped up in a couple of hoaxes.
there have been a couple, yeah, and that's something a lot of people have been pointing out about this. I feel like this has a little bit more weight to it than some of the other things he's been wrapped up in.
Okay.
So we're looking at that. We've got a quote from him saying the specimens not being related to any life on Earth. And I'm not sure exactly which paragraph it is in here, but there is a discussion on the DNA analysis that happened of the remains and actually showing that there was some kind of genome found inside of them that was partially unrelated to any life that's currently been found terrestrially.
I don't know, guys.
I find it suspicious that it looks very much like ET.
It does look
does.
very much like ET, but
From like the Atari 2600 games too. I don't mean like film ET.
then we can get
I
into a
agree.
discussion realistically about predictive programming. I mean, is there a reason it looks like ET?
No.
Well, so what are we picking out in here? Other than so particularly about the DNA evidence, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's kind of a
I
short
skimmed through it earlier and I did not pick out the paragraph that it was in.
It's okay. So my concern with this is that these bodies were originally discovered in 2017 in Peru, right?
Yeah.
And they end up in this Masan guy's hands, and he brings them to this big UAP hearing in Mexico.
Mm.
Which in and of itself is interesting that they're holding these hearings in the Mexican bodies of legislature the same way they are in the United States.
You know, it's honestly surprising hearing this that Canada wasn't the first to follow suit behind us and that it happened in Mexico first, honestly. And I think we will now see Canada following suit with hearings such as this.
I think Canada's busy.
You know, possibility.
So in my understanding is if these are the same bodies, in 2017 they were largely debunked. Like, I had seen an article that referenced they had analyzed them and come to the conclusion that they were made up of both like human skeletal fragments as well as animal. Specifically, it talked about a part of a llama's skull.
Interesting. I'm not sure I've read what you're talking about, to tell you the truth. I don't know. I believe you. Don't get me wrong there. I believe what you're saying. I just haven't seen the article you're talking about.
Yeah,
here.
I'll see if I can pull it up because this was just something that I was reading on the side. I knew you wanted to cover this. And one of the things that it mentioned was that how he got these bodies wasn't very clear. Like the
Yeah.
chain of custody didn't seem to be very evident, and that the university that he had sent samples to had come out and made a comment that saying that they had received samples from a third party and they tested the samples, and I want to say they carbon dated them to like 1,000 years or something like that old. Is that?
Yeah, I want to say it was about 1,000 years. I believe the third link you have there is an article from 2017, a couple of screenshots out of one,
You wanna pull that
talking
up?
about these. Yeah, if you want to switch over to it, talking about these being found.
There's
Back
very
in
little text on
2017.
screen, just so you know. I'm gonna zoom in on it a bit.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of different articles here. The one on the left, I'll go ahead and just read the headline. If you want to scroll up off of that one, we've got exclusive: dead alien baby and pregnant mother found inside tomb in Peru. So researchers investigating the alleged discovery of several alleged mummified aliens also claim to have now found a corpse that appears to be a baby. Yesterday, Express.co.uk revealed the first pictures of what is alleged to be a secret tomb where several mummified aliens were found in Peru. Gaia.com, the paranormal website behind the outlandish claims that at least 5 mummified aliens have been found buried in Nazca, Peru, has released a video revealing claimed CT scans on one of the mummified creatures has shown it has 3 eggs inside it. So we've got articles dating back to 2017 when these were allegedly found, showing at what some of the evidence in these hearings is being discussed. Things like the CT scans and the X-rays are actually being put in front of the Mexican Congress right now. I say right now, a few days ago.
I think it's interesting that the whole world is acting like this is some great unveiling, that this news wasn't around. This news was around. You know, it is old news. My inclination is that these were trotted out to discredit some of the other UFO stuff.
Or make it big news to get, your minds off other news going on.
Well, yeah, we always talk about that. Like, is it a smoke screen? But I mean, the UAP UFO hearings themselves are pretty fantastic. And then you trot these guys out, and it was a spectacle. There's no way you can deny that it wasn't a spectacle.
Oh, the media response absolutely shows that it was a spectacle.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Wendy's tweeted about it. Of all, I want to say people, but of all entities that could possibly be talking about this, Wendy's is making fun of it. So, I mean, I don't know. I would like to see what the chain of custody for these things were. Did you want to read more on here before? I do have that Fox News article I was talking about.
Yeah, no, it's okay. This was more just to show the timestamps and give everybody an idea of what time frame the bodies were found in.
Okay, that they do predate this discovery.
This discovery, sure. They're not,
This isn't
discovery's not the right word, but
Yeah.
this hearing, sure enough.
Yeah. Okay. I'll pull this up for funsies here. So this was the article that I was talking about from Fox News, and it talks about this Ryan Graves who was involved in both the U.S. and the Mexican hearings.
Okay,
So-
that's interesting.
Mhm.
See, having someone in both of them, I find very interesting.
So, and basically, this guy ended up tweeting out that he thought that this was a spectacle, and he was kind of ashamed that they had brought out these little mummified bodies. And he thought it discredited what he was trying to do, seeing what he's doing as legitimate and this as questionable at best. So yeah, it says they're alleged to be 1,000 years old. Non-human beings. Reported bodies were fossilized in mines in Peru in a layer of dioecious earth or ancient phytoplankton algae.
So they're fossilized. They're not mummified. That's interesting.
Apparently. Well, and what gets me is 1,000 years. I wish I knew more about radiocarbon dating, but I didn't think that you could narrow down that small of a time frame.
I don't think you can necessarily. I think the half-life on carbon-14 is drastically longer than 1,000 years would allow you to be able to identify using. Then again, if you were to look at it as a ratio of how much would have decayed over a certain point of half-life, you could get an estimate if you saw the decay in the item of the carbon-14.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 years is a blink in geological time. It's not that long ago.
Yeah,
in terms
it's
of
a second. It's not even close to a minute.
yeah. So I don't think carbon dating can be that accurate. Let's see where it says here. So here's them showing the X-ray or CT scans that they did on the creatures' heads.
I mean, it's interesting. Pull up a CT scan of a human brain and put it like right next to that, and let's see what
I will.
Yes, it is.
What
Give
the
me
difference
just a
looks
moment
like.
here, though, because I would like to find. They may have changed this article since the last time I saw it, or I'm looking at something different. But they had talked about a potential issue with the chain of custody of these things, and the university kind of denying that they had truly studied them, and that they were just given samples and asked to look into it, and the samples, that's where they're coming up with that 1,000-year time frame. But who's to say that the samples actually came from these bodies? And if this was like a taxidermied hoax, it wouldn't be without precedent, because we have things like the Montauk Monster, right? There's a famous picture of the Montauk Monster that I'm pretty sure was a taxidermied hoax.
But the
Mermaids.
The Montauk Monster is really, really interesting to start
It
off
is.
with. That I think there's something there. The islands surrounding that have some wild history going on, but that's neither here nor there. But my question there is, has the Montauk Monster made it in front of American Congress?
That's a good point. No, it has not. So
I don't know.
this is this university, the Autonomous National University of Mexico, have conducted carbon-14 analysis that determined the corpses are around 1,000-year-old. Now, I don't know how possible that is with carbon-14 dating.
The more I think on it, the more I think that it might be something that is possible. If you're able to take and you know how long the actual half-life is, you would be able to use that as a ratio and figure out how much carbon-14 is left versus how much carbon-6 is in there, and what you're looking at as a difference.
Well, it's just such a short time frame. Like when they do carbon dating on ancient civilizations, there's always a wide breadth of a window. So to say 1,000 years old,
You're saying it's within the plus or minus. It's far within that plus or minus, the error correction that they have there. It could possibly be 31,000 years old, or it could be 10.
So again, this says Mexican scientists determined more than 30% of the specimen's DNA was unknown. Okay.
You see, that's interesting.
Can we talk
too.
about that?
Yes, absolutely. Because 70% of the I'm sorry, did you have something?
I was just gonna say we also have some people in the chat, so if you
Definitely.
want to read off some of the
Yeah.
chats.
We'll talk back to him in chat, but more than likely it's a tribute or something. The bodies don't have ball joints, camera. So it wouldn't be able to move
No
very
way.
good. Plus the spinal column feed to the head in such a way that a solid bop would kill. Yeah, I don't doubt that. In part, there's a question of if they are aliens, their anatomy is not going to be like ours. So, but you would think you would still need ball joints at a minimum, or something that would function in a similar manner. In terms of a solid bop to the head would kill it. Maybe they're fragile over time. We had a malfunction of our brand new camera. So we've been fighting this whole time. Yeah. What you need? Bear with us, folks. You want to see it?
Technical Technical
The
difficulties.
main shot looks good. If that's what your concern is, it looks good. It's infrared.
No, I just have to.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
Bear with us. We will get it. Only week 3. We're still learning as we go.
So yeah, in terms of them not having ball joints, that to me is a serious problem. In terms of them being very fragile, let's say they were actual extraterrestrials from some other star-faring civilization, there's a very good possibility that they may have evolved to a point where, you know, they're essentially cyborgs, or they have technology that keeps them protected, and it's no longer that important that you can take a bump to the head. I think that's a pretty valid thing to think. You don't necessarily know what evolution's gonna throw at you when you look at the human species, and we continue to get more and more fragile. I mean, drop you off in the woods and you're prey to everything out there. They don't look like to me that they are. What was the topic we were talking about last week where I said it does? Oh, Mothman.
Yeah.
That it doesn't look like it could have been something that evolved on this planet or exists in our universe. You know. I don't think this is something real. To be
It
honest,
almost looks like some kind of taxidermy that was made who knows how long. So it could have been made 1,000 years ago. We don't know. It just doesn't look real.
that way a little. Good enough. Too far. Yeah, our we have a brand new camera appliance that just failed us in the middle there, so sorry about that.
Yeah, I do apologize for that, everyone. I ran a 2-hour test on this device last night to make sure that 30-minute timeout didn't happen, and unfortunately, I do believe I failed to apply it properly to the camera tonight. So hopefully
It
that doesn't
happens.
happen again. I think it should be all good.
It's all right.
but
It
at
gave us a
any
chance
rate-
to talk to chat a little bit. Jacqueline, if you want to field some of those on the
Yeah,
stream and just
Totally.
so that you can just talk to them in chat at least.
Y'all can chat with me.
So, where did we leave off? We're talking about this 30% of the specimen's DNA was unknown.
Fair enough.
The implication is there, I believe, that the other 70% was human DNA. Is that correct?
No. Actually, from what I understand, and I don't believe it shows it in this article, but from what I understand, the remaining 70%, some of it was related to humans, but it was very much like the human genome, where we've got banana DNA, and we've got monkey DNA, and we've got
In other words, it was terrestrial DNA.
it was terrestrial DNA, exactly.
But for 70% of that to be random, that doesn't necessarily make sense either. But we're talking about 70% terrestrial DNA, right?
Fair enough.
So one of the segments that I was actually thinking about doing this week, and I didn't in favor of the McKillian Bembe stuff that we're going to get to in a little while, was Justin Smahey. Justin Smahey claims to have shot not one, but 2 Bigfoot. And
Shot or shot?
shot, as in killed,
Okay.
2 Bigfoot.
Is that the guy that supposedly buried him and then couldn't find
then
him
went
again?
back. Yes.
Okay,
He was
yeah.
running from a game warden. It's something that I want to cover. But when he does go back, he finds this piece of flesh that he gets DNA tested,
Gotcha.
and it's tested through. I think her name is Ketchum. Something like that. Dr. Ketchum was doing this Sasquatch DNA overall study of Sasquatch samples to try to come to a conclusion of what Sasquatch is.
Okay.
And what they found was that on the mRNA side, on the maternal side, that Sasquatch was a combination of a novel ape, a DNA of an ape previously unknown,
Okay.
and combined with a human on its maternal side from some point.
So you're telling me at some point there was a essentially another hominid species that was crossbred into existence. There was an ape species that was similar enough to human genetics for us to be able to mate with it, and the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, is a result of that.
Yes.
Okay.
And I seem to get into this every week so far. This idea that there was, Cody says the doctor's name was like Dr. Ash Ketchum.
Ash Ketchum, I've heard of them. They're very, very prominent. Very, very
What,
prominent.
Ash Ketchums? Dr. Ash Ketchums?
Absolutely.
You gotta catch them all when it comes to hominid species.
What I'm saying, man.
So my point is just that we carry DNA within us that isn't strictly Homo sapien DNA. If you're white, you likely carry Neanderthal DNA. Other races carry other potential early hominids that aren't strictly Homo sapiens. So if this is 1,000 years ago and this thing has terrestrial DNA or human DNA, and then they're saying 30% is unknown, that, to me, that doesn't mean much. Because when we talk, if I go into something like Homo florensis, which is a verified species of hominids in like Tasmania, I want to say, I think it's Tasmania who existed. They call them like the real hobbits. Was when this hit the media, they called them the real hobbits. And it has an interesting parallel to something called the orang pendek, which is essentially a Littlefoot, as in a small hominid that could potentially still exist in these jungles.
Gotcha.
1,000 years ago, who's to say what sort of tribes of early hominids might not have still existed? And that's assuming we can trust that 1,000-year-old figure, right? So to me, that doesn't mean as much, especially considering it does have terrestrial DNA. What would blow my mind is if this thing didn't have DNA, or it had some sort of other DNA structure that wasn't related to anything terrestrial.
It makes an interesting point of note, though, that there are theories that aliens aren't necessarily extraterrestrial in nature, that possibly we've got, there's more than one. Hollow Earth, we've got, underground cities, we've got underwater cities, and with the prevalence of the UAP hearings in America and the AARO coming out with the ocean-related UFO videos that they have been, it wagers to go that there's a possibility that what we think is extraterrestrial truly is just an extremely advanced terrestrial species that has managed to keep themselves very well hidden.
Or not extremely advanced. I don't think there's any indication that what these things were advanced in any way.
These, yes. However, in the...
You talking about the UFO videos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in
yeah.
the scenario I'm positing, imagine that what they found here was an early ancestor, possibly for a divergent species of some sort, and we are seeing now the current generation of that, and that's what we're getting with aliens, is what this species was essentially evolved into.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't... It's a great leap to say that this has anything to do with the UFO videos that, we watched last week.
They found these in Peru, right?
That's what they're saying. Like, this quote here says, The Independent noted that Masson, an investigative journalist who has been researching extraterrestrial phenomenon for decades, has been connected to previous claims of debunked alien discoveries, including 5 mummies discovered in Peru in 2017, later determined to be the remains of human children. Now, I don't know if this is one of those mummies they're specifically referring to, but we were just talking about the mummies in Peru in 2017. Yeah. And allow me to go ahead and go back to that page. They look like the same thing, do they not?
I think they are. I think they might be referring to specifically the one that is in the hunched up pose in the bottom right of the second article.
Right up here.
Because there were several different mummies that were found in that expedition. The reason I ask if they discovered this in Peru is I've got an interesting video to show you that shows a very similar incident, a very similar entity being discovered in Russia 6 years prior to this one being discovered in Peru.
All right, let's see. I want to see. I haven't heard of this one yet. I've seen all this. I want to see the new one.
It's interesting. And it's so these are, I want to point out here too, these are mummified.
Okay.
They are vitrified, right? They have, I don't know, is that the right word? It might not be the right word. Don't take
They're
that one.
desiccated.
They're
so
desiccated.
They
Thank
found
you.
them in what they say, like dioecious. Oops, sorry about that.
Diatomaceous earth, or
Dioecious earth.
I can't talk tonight.
If you garden at all, you might use dioecious earth. It's they use it to keep like bugs away.
Well, it's interesting to note that these are desiccated. The one that you see in the frost, what looks to be melted permafrost in Russia, appears to have almost moisture damage done to its skin. Very similar structure through and through. However, its methods of corpse disposal made very different outcomes on the actual body composition and the way that it looks in the videos. However, you can still clearly see inside of it that it looks like they are almost identical. They would be like, if they were alive, they'd be the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and dioecious earth is kind of like a desiccant. Like it will suck moisture out of anything. So if they said diatom mines, I believe is how you refer to them, which is where they mine this stuff for us to use in our gardens. It cuts up slugs and small insects, especially larvae. As they move over it, it has such rigid, sharp edges that it can actually cut up larvae, stuff like fungus gnats.
That's interesting. But I also, inside of that, hear that you're telling me there's a chance there's ground up aliens in my garden.
Apparently, according to this.
I know
so
what
I did
we're
find
doing later.
this subtly different Fox News article about this Ryan Graves who spoke out against this.
Is that the one we watched this morning?
The event has become a social media stunt. I was looking
Through
at
the
this last
Congress?
night, actually. But
Okay,
here's
maybe
his
I was
tweet.
watching
After U.S. congressional UFO hearing, I accepted an invitation to testify before the Mexican Congress, hoping. Let me just pull up the actual tweet because
Is this guy similar to Grush in any way? Is
who?
Grush, the gentleman that's doing a lot of testifying in the current American UAP hearings?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
he's been in that circle.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
don't know what their relationship is exactly, but after the U.S. congressional UFO hearing, I accepted an invitation to testify before the Mexican Congress, hoping to keep up momentum of government interest in pilot experiences with UAP. Unfortunately, yesterday's demonstration was a huge step backwards for this issue. My testimony centered on sharing my experience and the UAP reports I hear from commercial and military aircrew through ASA's witness program. You want to remind me what ASA is? Is that the anomaly? That's not the
I
anomaly
don't believe,
resolution
no,
office.
that's not the AARO.
Yeah.
But if that's commercial and military aircrew, it is probably referring to the civilian pilot and the military pilot sections that they had for
Okay.
reporting on the AARO, if I had to imagine.
He says, I will continue to raise awareness of UAP as an urgent matter of aerospace safety, national security, and science, but I am deeply disappointed in this unsubstantiated stunt.
Do you know what that reads
That's
like?
a bold claim.
You know what that reads like to me?
What, he got overshadowed?
Controlled opposition.
Maybe.
The man's a shill. And I don't know the man. Ryan Graves, please don't sue me. I don't necessarily mean this.
Yeah, come on the show. We want to talk.
But that almost reads as a matter of
No, you know what? I could read it the other way, honestly. The way I see it as is this guy's trying to lend legitimacy to the topic, and then he has what he thinks is a charlatan next to him bringing out these Peruvian mummies.
But
I
is
agree
it
with Gavin.
is it a jump reaction though?
I don't know. I feel like he really wants to show what he feels like is real, and then this pops up, and it's like, come on, they look like dollar store stuff. Like we already saw this in 2017.
But if
Yeah.
we already saw
Well,
it in
and I don't-
2017 and
Why
it was
is it a thing now?
debunked so thoroughly, why is it a thing now? There has
I'm
to be
telling you, they
something more
popped
to
it up
it, right?
because they want our attention to go on this instead of something else.
They're
But that's
striking.
an entirely different government popping it
No.
up.
I think this guy's striking while the iron's hot. They're doing these meetings. He gets his ticket to go, and
Is it a big pyramid scheme?
he's got to bring something to to look like a big spectacle so that he can get his moment in the sunlight, you know? So this talks again about the 2017 Peruvian mummies. If these aren't the same mummies, they look just like them.
I believe they are the same mummies, but like I said, there were a few other mummies that looked substantially different
Well,
to
he talks about
these that
5
were
of
also
them, so,
found.
Yeah. Was it what? If 3 of them were hoaxes and these 2 were the real ones?
It's
you know,
possible. Hey, you never know, man. 1,000 years ago, there could have been mummies and people, aliens and people living in Peru together.
So this talks about how one of them appeared to have eggs or ovaries inside.
You know, that honestly doesn't, frankly, doesn't interest me as much as the next sentence.
The osmium.
Osmium, the fact that they have
Rare metal?
implants, they have what on the CT scans, and I have some pictures that you can pull up while we're talking about this if you want to, that show some of the implants that are made out of osmium, and I believe there was another article I didn't have pulled up that reported there was cadmium found in some of them as well. And those are elements that don't,
Not like they're naturally occurring.
they're naturally occurring, but they're not naturally occurring at such a level that you'd be able to accidentally have a structure like that form out of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was like 100% that is some kind of machined.
So where do you have those?
It's right here. So the implants that they're talking about are on the chest right there.
These?
Yeah, sure enough.
It's a bra.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a bra.
Just an alien bra. I don't know. That's interesting. Well, it's like Radikish said in chat about, you know, them, like a bonk to the head would have killed these things, given their
Absolutely.
structure. Well, maybe they had some sort of exoskeleton, some sort of technological exoskeleton, which maybe you would expect. It sounds like something that would be in sci-fi from an expected spacefaring civilization. So.
You know, and it's possible too that the lack of ball joints may just be an indication of cartilage-based motion of some sort, tendon and cartilage-based motion. We do have areas at the shoulders there of less density, or of greater density, which could indicate a different fibrous network than one made of whatever bone-like material is working on the skeleton there. So it's a possibility that we're just not thinking far enough outside of our own biology and our preconceived notions
Yeah.
from science fiction and things like that to be able to understand what could be happening here. Because during mummification, petrification, I mean, they're almost turned into stone when we look at them here. During that, it's likely that bone and cartilage wouldn't be very discernible from each other in the aftermath of that state.
Do you know what this first picture is here?
I want to say it's the Williams photograph, from what I understand. I could not find the full photo of the Williams, but this is a gentleman that noticed some similarities to the Williams photograph in these aliens and decided to superimpose a few things to show those similarities.
Is the Williams photograph apparently of a living extraterrestrial?
Yes, from what I understand. It was taken in the 80s, I want to say.
It's interesting. I mean, it does look like an archetypal alien.
The photo was not color originally, just to let you know.
I mean, are we sure? Yeah, that's what it says on
Yeah.
here. If you can't see it on the stream, it says color additions based on suggestion. So here are the ovaries or eggs that they're talking about. I mean, kidney stones?
They might just be really
Big
nice
baby.
kidney stones.
Bad kidney stones. That's what killed this infant.
I mean, these x-rays look legitimate. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know what materials could look like bone under x-ray, but these look like every x-ray I've ever seen of bone and metal inside of a person.
Well, bone can look like bone under X-ray, and like I said, this is if this is a case of a taxidermy hoax, it wouldn't be the first one we've seen. And my question is, because as far as I'm aware, this wasn't revealed, the chain of custody of this creature or this thing And who did these X-rays and how verified were they? Because the lab that did the so-called DNA evidence or the carbon dating evidence came out and said, hey, we just got sent a sample and we did our thing. They seem to distance themselves from it.
Because they probably knew it wasn't real either.
Here's transposed over this Williams photograph in this thing. It was the same alien, and it time traveled back 1,000 years. Got trapped in a diatom pit.
It didn't account for the
Desiccated.
rotation of the Earth while it was time traveling. It only set time and not location.
Well, what was this thing doing on the Earth to begin with?
Well,
Long enough for it to die,
what
live
if it's
and die.
terrestrial? That's what I'm saying here. Maybe we're not thinking about it right. Maybe the light speed challenge is too hard to solve and nothing has made it here. Maybe we have evolved alongside another hominid species that is capable of what seems to be intrinsically higher intelligence than we are, and the ability, I think that comes along with it naturally, but the ability to keep themselves hidden for long periods of time, very rarely slipping up, and when they do slip up, it's momentary and vague.
So I've talked about this before, but for us to find T-Rex fossils, there had to be Tyrannosaurus Rex on the planet for a very long period of time, and there had to be a lot of them, enough that a very small percentage, a fraction of a fraction, was able to fall under the conditions that would have allowed for us to now recover their fossils. The idea that an alien race just happened to be in the right place at the right time to die, and for us to recover it 1,000 years later, I'm having a hard time swallowing that.
Do you know what the odds that you're alive right now are? That the lineage that followed before you to get you to the exact moment of being born that happened for you specifically are something in 1 to 400 trillion?
That's silly. I know what you're saying.
Probability
But you could
is
reduce
probability.
anything. The idea that I had this particular 16 gig SD card in my hands is probably
One in hundreds of millions,
Right.
not 400 trillion. That's an order of magnitude difference. And you're talking about, frankly, what I believe a similar order of magnitude there. And probability is probability. All three of us in this room share that same exact probability of us being in this room right now. I feel like...
Well, it's not as though I don't believe in fate, but I just is that where you're going with this? Well, it's fate that we found
it's
this,
not necessarily
or that
that.
crazier things have happened.
It's that the math checks out. It's a non-zero chance.
Everything is a non-zero.
Exactly.
Chance. I just don't believe that it's too slim of a chance. There haven't, but I just don't know.
Well,
how
slim is too slim?
I can't find a full fossil of a Gigantopithecus.
Well, this isn't necessarily a fossil either.
Okay, it's not a fossil.
It's a mummy. We have
But
mummies.
it was
We have full
something-
mummies from Egypt 1,000 years ago.
That were carefully, deliberately prepared for preservation.
Okay, and was this not?
No,
How do you know?
it wasn't wrapped.
Okay.
It was found in a diatom mine.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling
Maybe
me
that's how they desiccated their bodies.
how many alien spacecrafts actually crash on Earth and how common? Because I guarantee you it's less than like meteor strikes. Now, throw that in with how many of them survive that crash, and how many of them survive that crash long enough to stumble out and fall into a diatom mine and be desiccated into a mummy.
Okay, let's flip it on its
I'm not
head,
buying
though.
it.
What if you are an unknown terrestrial species living deep underground in a series of caves, subterranean caves and tunnels, and
Lizard people!
lizard people?
You talk about lizard people.
Honestly though, it's like that makes as much sense as an alien crashing into it. That there's a race of subterranean
Sure, maybe.
beings
Yeah.
one of them wandered off and happened to fall into that mine.
If
And
this
they
was
couldn't get back
legitimate,
out.
I would put my money on the fact that it's not extraterrestrial, that it's something else. Maybe some early hominid species, but I don't. given this man's reputation for being involved in previous hoaxes of mummies, and now here he is at the UAP hearing, the biggest spectacle there. He overshadows anyone who might have other evidence, flight crews, military pilots. He overshadows all of them with this circus-like spectacle, and he's already been known to be of a questionable reputation.
So what you're telling me is he's the controlled opposition?
Yes.
He seems like too good of a patsy to be a patsy.
The guy's all over the media, you know?
But I mean, why would they make their patsy someone who is obviously discredited when people can look at that and do exactly what you're doing and write
They do it all the
off?
time. He's a useful idiot. I'd have to pull up some of the other names. I can't think of them off the top of my head in terms of the UFO community. But there are definitely patsies that have been used.
Marty says they're paper mache.
They look like they're paper mache. It looks like I could hit it and candy would fall out.
Should we take a day trip to Mexico to go beat some alien piñatas up?
Let's do it.
All right, what else can I show on here?
I've got that
that
Russian video, that very last YouTube link.
What is this?
That is similar thing, just talking about specifically the hand there. The very last YouTube video there. All right. So this was a video that was filmed in 2011. The video it's inside of, I had it marked if you want to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. It's at 41 or 47 seconds. The video this is inside of is just kind of talking about the video.
Okay, you told me about this. I haven't seen this yet. This looks wild.
So this is that video from 2011 in Russia, and it's a very, very similar looking creature. No relation to this gentleman from Peru whatsoever. And you've got a condition difference in the way that the bodies were preserved. One was preserved through freezing, one was preserved through desiccation. And if you take a look at least in the literature, human cadavers that were preserved in both manners, you see similar and striking signs of the same effects on the body happening between the two here.
Okay. I'll check it out. Hopefully you get the audio queued up. Or high enough. We'll see.
Walking his dog.
And ultimately, they stumble across this strange 3-foot creature lying in the snow. It was missing a limb. It had a sort of a dark gray.
Similar height we can see there. Similar body structure.
Features to recognize.
Let's freeze on that. Notice how the thing's head is.
Similar eye and mouth structure there. What we saw on the other one, those weren't actually the eyes. Those were essentially the eyelids that were desiccated. And so the eyes would have been large sockets exactly like that underneath those.
That's tiny.
This is that Cirrus one, right?
That's a completely
different
different
one.
one, sure enough.
That's an interesting one.
It was nicknamed Alashenka by
That one I am not sure what to think about. Frankly, the head on it looks like it was made of leaves.
discovered it.
Yeah, I've watched some stuff on that before. I think there's a documentary called Cirrus that goes over that.
Well, that one has more relation, honestly, to fairy mythology, I think, than aliens, if you ask me.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean,
And fairies, man, that's a whole deep dive. I don't want to talk too much about that, man.
you want to go into the fairies?
No.
Oh,
Fairy
come
talk
on.
tonight? Come on.
I like gremlins. Was there anything else in that video? or
No,
that's
it
about
was just that. It was a short clip that was filmed that 6 years prior to this one being discovered in Peru that shows a very, very, very similarly structured creature. The mouth juts out in the same way. The eyes are set back in very large orbital sockets in the same way. The head is elongated. We're seeing a 3-foot tall creature with what appears to be an emaciated body and a very stiff joint structure in both of them. The similarities between those two are striking, and both of them so far have been like unexplained. You know what I mean?
I would make the argument that they're both archetypal aliens, as in, if I was gonna fake an alien, I wouldn't necessarily fake something outlandish like a space squid. I would make it look like a gray.
I don't know. I think people would receive Space Squid more realistically than they
Space
would
squid?
this.
I can only hope that space squid exists.
Space Squid's gonna be a lot bigger than we want him to be, and you know that.
It's got to be like one of those Star Trek beings that only exist in deep space, like outside of a planet.
Uh-huh.
Just sucks up on your ship and just starts to drain your warp drive.
It's gonna be the size of a moon, like our moon. It's gonna eat our. The Space Squid's gonna replace our moon, and we're gonna have to pay it taxes.
No, I don't want to pay a squid taxes.
Too bad. He's
I'm
munching
already
on
paying
it
so
right
many.
now.
I can't handle that.
Mm-mm.
Don't look directly at the Space Squid. He gets nervous.
But I think we kind of hit all our points there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless somebody in chat's got something else they want to ask about the Mexican stuff. I think it's interesting. To me, it looks like the Mexican government is imitating what the United States government is.
Do you think the Mexican government is the reason he's there, or do you think he managed to force his way there?
Masan?
Yes.
I think he's there because he has a name in this stuff anyway.
Okay.
So why not invite him? But it definitely looked like a lot more of a circus than the UAP hearings in the States. Because, I mean, they literally let them drag these things out under glass and unveil them like they were like a circus sideshow, you know?
No doubt. What are you thinking?
I agree.
I don't know. You know, I think I see where you're coming from.
I mean,
If-
it sounds like we both think somebody here is like
Controlled
planned opposition.
opposition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just we're flipped on who we think it is.
Who it is, absolutely. I'm not sure. Those Nazca mummies, you know, there were a few that were debunked, but they weren't able to prove that these were human children. These were the ones they weren't able to identify as such, and that I find interesting. It feels like there might be something there.
So these are the 2 out of the 5, you think?
Fair enough, I
Is
believe
that how this
so.
went down? And that makes sense.
So what are they?
I would sure like to see.
You know,
I don't know.
I
I think there's very well taxidermied forgeries.
We could
I
get
agree.
really deep with it. Are they homunculus? Did they accidentally unearth a cave of ancient Peruvian alchemists on a mission to create artificial life, and they had success only for their creations to murder them?
Are they just 1,000-year-old humans with birth defects, so they threw them in the diatom mine?
I hate that you just Occam's razored me with that.
I feel
They're
like that could
aliens, damn
be.
it.
I'm kind of right there with you, Gavin. I kind of feel like it looks like birth defects. Something went wrong. They buried it.
See, what's unfortunate about this is even we've fallen into this trap of covering the largest spectacle at the hearings.
That's
Yeah.
true.
We're not talking about any of the UFO videos or any of the other testimony. Instead, we're talking about these Peruvian mummies.
It's interesting that they're Peruvian mummies, though, with the Space Force in the village and the attacks by the jetpacking gold miners. And, you know, I don't know. Happening right there in Peru. Seems like it's a hotbed for this kind of activity.
Yeah, I mean, Peru does seem to show up on the map a lot when it comes to this stuff.
I don't know. What do you guys think out there in the ether? I'm staring into one of your souls right now, I promise. It's you, Carl.
Well, the
Crackhead
reality is
Larry
we'll probably
watching.
clip this as a segment. So if you do have something to say about it, let us know, darkdial.com or in the comments. It's interesting. I like it. Any news is good news, but I'm highly skeptical of these mummified alien bodies. Is all
Do
I
you
can
think
say.
they're just going to come out and say, we got aliens, there's a lot of them, we can't get rid of them, help?
I think that's what they should do, because that seems to be what's actually happening.
It really does. They seem to legitimately not understand what the
No.
phenomena is, and that I find interesting. Is it Are they making it seem like they don't understand what the phenomena is? So we think they don't understand what the phenomena is, so we don't question that they actually understand what the phenomena is? Is that what's happening here? Because I feel like that might be what's happening here.
You need to calm down,
I
sir.
refuse.
We had this argument last week about this issue. Like, I'm trying to remember exactly how this went down, but you just scrambled my brain with your words.
Good.
Like, legitimately. Lord. No, you had said if extraterrestrials were to land or be exposed, that there would be civil upheaval because of it.
You know, yes, I did say that. I almost want to walk back on that a little bit because I've given that some thought. And I think if we lived in a more religious time frame, that would be the case. But I think with religion dying the way that it is in modern life, statistically, you know, I don't just mean that in a subjective manner. I just mean statistically, more people are abandoning religion in their lives.
Yeah.
I think that may lead it to be less of an issue.
I don't think it's an issue at all. Like I said, I don't think aliens are incompatible with any of the Abrahamic religions. Like, I believe the quote I had last week was you'd have more people trying to bring Jesus to the aliens than making the aliens Jesus or something like that.
Would they make the alien? I feel like there would be a lot of people making the aliens.
Probably be some
Jesus.
crazy New Agers like, welcome, Space Brothers. You're our new gods.
Hey, space bros, you got any of that space weed?
Moonweed. Dark side of the moonweed. We know there's not on the light side.
So what I'm hearing is don't let the hippies be first contact.
Come on. Fuck the hippies.
Someone's like, I want to talk to him first.
Right?
It's like that scene from Mars Attacks. You ever seen Mars Attacks?
Yes,
Years
God.
ago.
There's a scene where, like, I think a hippie goes up with a flower, or they release a dove, and the aliens just yak 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 and just shoot the dove to hell, and the whole thing just turns out to be a
Spirals out of
battlefield.
control.
They're just vaporizing the audience.
Oh man, no, that's a good movie. It's a really
Yeah.
good one.
Well, if you don't know, it was a collectible card series before it was that.
Really, that was the one where they stuck. Was it Paris Hilton's head on a chihuahua?
It wasn't Paris Hilton, but it was a Paris Hilton-like character.
Okay,
She had like a tiny chihuahua. Playing like Tom
that
Jones.
scene, I don't know
music.
why, it's burned in my brain, and every time I think of chihuahuas, I see that scene, and it's kind of shaped my worldview on chihuahuas going through the rest of my life because I picture them not only as tiny little yappy dogs, but tiny little yappy dogs from that movie specifically.
No, mine's Beverly Hills Chihuahua. I loved that movie. I've seen it a bajillion times.
Oh man.
Beverly Hills Chihuahua. So this is kind of a good segue. Mars Attacks, right? It was originally a card series. I think Topps did. And just here's some nerd knowledge. I'll lay it down for you. They also did a sequel to it called Dinosaurs Attacks. And some subsequent sequels, including some crossovers that I think were kind of like GoFundMe projects. I will throw this up here. Here are some of the Dinosaur Attacks cards, and the idea was in the Dinosaur Attacks card they kind of tell this story of dinosaurs coming through this portal that's created, and I don't know what the story is with the crossover, but here's some crossover imagery here of the two. So I was this week watching. I sought out this documentary about the Mokili Mbembe. So the Mokili or Mokili Mbembe is a rumored dinosaur in the Congo. And I had found this documentary from, let's see, what year was it? I want to say it was like 2001. about the Mukillian Bembe and the Congo, and it was kind of a disappointment. Like, I watched it, and it starts off with this really cool clip that I'm going to show you here. I'm going to switch this view.
Hold on. I need to retrieve my sound.
It's true.
You just let me know when you're ready.
All good.
Okay, so I'm going to show you this clip that's played relatively early on in this documentary.
Oh, and that is so definitively swimming and so very large. That's not something stationary. It's leaving a wake.
So I don't understand why this footage is black and white, because it's shot in 92 by this Japanese expedition. I guess that's the film they had. As far as I can tell, this was not for dramatic effect, and I can't find this film anywhere else. And this is Lake Tele in the Congo, which is surrounded by thick, swampy brush. Like, they call it like the dark heart of Africa, because you cannot navigate through this stuff. And they apparently catch something swimming in the lake here. And yeah, doesn't that look kind of like a long neck?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. It's, I mean, like, the water, it tells everything in this, man. That lake's not moving. There's no motion in that lake, and that's a long, very long
Well, and
lake
I've seen
happening.
other videos where they reenact this. They try to build something out of wood. They did different, experiments and stuff, and they tried to pull it behind a boat. They couldn't get anything like what this video looked like.
Like trying to reproduce a lake monster. Yeah, I mean, it's grainy footage, so it's hard to say. But given the depth of this lake and where this thing was at, I could make the argument that this looks like an elephant's shadow, right? Or an elephant's outline.
Could be.
I forgot elephants existed until you said that. Now that's all I can see.
Now it looks like an elephant, right? But given its location on the lake, an elephant out that far, elephants are heavy. Elephants don't really swim, As far as I'm aware, I don't think they go in deep water.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
I don't know.
So to take you along my journey, I see this clip, I find this video, I watch this documentary, and by the end of the documentary, it is somewhat disappointing because they talk to these, they're the Bayaka pygmies, and they show them a book of different animals. And I've seen this done before where they show them books of different animals, and it might not be the Bayaka, it might be other pygmy groups, because they're really the only ones that are out in the jungle in terms of tribes. Like, there are more civilized people in towns along the river. But I mean, these guys are living a very primitive lifestyle out there. I'm gonna see if I can find kind of the end of it where it just gets I was let down.
Language drift, where the original legend spurred as that, and it just drifted down to them in this generation describing that rhinoceros as that.
So I very much appreciate you bringing that up. Marty says elephants can swim for up to 6 hours completely submerged with just their trunks for air.
You're telling me they snorkel?
Yeah, that's what
They're
it sounds
the
like.
Snorkel champions of the world.
I mean,
I
that's
had
that's
no
pretty
idea.
wild. Now, there are forest elephants in these areas. What there are not, as far as anyone knows, is rhinoceros. So, in terms of this being potential language drift, like playing a game of telephone,
Yeah.
right? He's talking to specifically the Bayaka pygmies from different regions, and they're all looking at this rhinoceros and going, that's what it is. Now, what's odd about the Congo is you have these very, very large animals. Some of them are built for speed, like savannas, living in dense brush. You have the okapi, which is a very weird-looking ungulate, a hooved animal.
Hold on, run that word by me 2 more times. I'm gonna need it a couple of times.
The okapi or
No,
okapi?
no, the one after that. That sounded like uvula, but wasn't.
Oh, ungulate.
Yeah, what's that?
An ungulate is like a hooved animal, like a I think a deer or a horse would be considered an ungulate.
Okay. That's a
Here's a
fun
picture of
word.
an okapi. These are in the Congo.
Ooh, that's fun. I love him. Look at him. Oh my god. Man, hold on, that fourth picture. Click on that fourth picture in real quick.
This one?
Put that up big screen
butt?
for everyone. Yeah,
zebra
look
butt?
at him. Man, he like, what's up, man? How you doing?
It's a
I need
zebra
one of
butt.
these, dude.
They're cute.
Yeah, they're funky.
They're like alien deer.
Well, and the forest
Yeah.
elephant are very elusive in the area, but we're talking about these pygmies that live a tribal existence out there in this brush all the time. So they can identify different animals pretty easily. You would think they're very, of course, they're in tune with the nature that's around them. They know what large animals are around there, even when they are stealthy.
They're proficient in the brush.
Exactly. Incredibly proficient. Like, you wish you could be as proficient as they are. Like, you know, they have essentially what amounts to like 10-hour work weeks. It's not what you think it is in terms of difficulty. So whether or not that's an elephant, the scale of that in Lake Telly looks very huge. And the forest elephants tend to be smaller than their like savanna cousins.
Yeah, that was very, very large in that lake. That was an immense object.
Yeah. I try to go back to it, but we got it on camera. So I'm left from this documentary feeling kind of let down because they show these Bayaka pygmies saying it's just a rhinoceros. They're all pointing at the rhinoceros. So I start to try to do a little bit more research, and I almost abandon this as a topic until I do. And I start to go back to the source and try to find what were the original accounts of the Mokili and Bembe.
Yeah.
I put together a little presentation for us. So we're going to
yeah.
experiment here with a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation. Most of this all came from the same source, the same site, which I'll cite on here. It was a wiki page, cryptidarchives.fandom.com/wiki/mokili-mbembe. Very informative. And what I did was I kind of compiled it. For me to go through all of this, we would never be done tonight. So I compiled some of the earliest sightings all the way up to about the 80s, which is where I stopped, because that's when stuff gets really interesting in the modern era. Well, let's see if I can project this here. Oh, that did not work. What are you guys thinking about this so far while I'm getting this run in?
I think it is plausible, like I said at the beginning of this, if there is a place that something like that is going to be living undiscovered and undisturbed by modern society, it is going to be in the dense middle nowheres of Africa, 110%.
I agree. And there's been too many other videos where they tried to recreate it and it just didn't work.
Well, I can tell you, it is not just the dangers of the environment when you're going to this area, but it's the political danger. In the Congo, you are liable to be shot if you're on the wrong side of the river, and it could be the wrong side of the river, could be both sides of the river.
Absolutely.
The idea that you're gonna just walk through the Congo unharmed is pretty ridiculous. It is a politically,
Voluptuous?
yeah, to say the least. It's the last place you want to be politically. That you're gonna get killed likely. So a lot of these expeditions, you'll see this over and over again, that they get turned around for different reasons. All right, let me try
Or
this again
maybe
now here.
the Congo government is stopping the expedition so no one finds out about the giant African dinosaurs.
Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna leave this in the. I'm gonna do kind of the reverse screen grab for this, I think, so that way see us more, because this is kind of an experimentation doing a slideshow on stream like this. So this is the first guy that I can find who has some documentation on the Mokili and Bembe, and it's from 1913. He leads this expedition to what is now the Northern Republic of Congo. He ends up forced to turn back because the First World War breaks out in about 1914. And although the term Mokili and Bembe originally came from the people of the area, he was the first one to spell it. You want to take a shot at reading that name? Because I don't really want to. Ludwig Freiherr von Steen zu Lausnitz?
Yeah, you did good
Beautiful.
because
How'd I do?
I couldn't have said any of that. Ludwig
Ludwig Freiherr von
von
Stein zu Lauschnitz.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know.
So this guy was a German colonial officer, and apparently he came out of retirement to do this expedition. I believe I had read that. Could be wrong on that point, but ultimately his stuff doesn't get published until like 1948 by this other guy. It changes hands a couple of times and gets this Willy Ley. And Willy Ley has this book, apparently, The Dodo, the Lungfish, and the Unicorn in 1948. And in 48, he publishes these written accounts of what Ludwig had to say. So,
The creature is reported not to live in the smaller rivers like the two liquilas, and in the rivers mentioned only a few individuals are said to exist. At the time of our expedition, a specimen was reported from the non-navigable part of the Sangha River, somewhere between the two rivers Mbayo and Picunda, unfortunately in a part of the river that could not be explored due to the brusque end of our expedition. We also heard about the alleged animal at the Esambo River. The narratives of the natives result in a general description that runs as follows.
So we're kind of experimenting with this AI reading, so I'm going to try to brush through this, give us our voices a break as we let this read to us. But again, these are Ludwig's accounts.
The animal is said to be of a brownish-grey colour with a smooth skin, its size approximately that of an elephant, at least that of a hippopotamus. It is said to have a long and very flexible neck and only one tooth, but a very long one. Some say it is a horn. A few spoke about a long muscular tail like that of an alligator. Canoes coming near it are said to be doomed. The animal is said to attack the vessels at once and to kill the crews, but without eating the bodies. The creature is said to live in the caves that have been washed out by the river in the clay of its shores at sharp bends. It is said to climb the shore even at daytime in search of food. Its diet is said to be entirely vegetable. This feature disagrees with a possible explanation as a myth. The preferred plant was shown to me. It is a kind of liana with large white blossoms, with a milky sap and apple-like fruits. At the Esambo River I was shown a path said to have been made by this animal in order to get at its food. The path was fresh, and there were plants of the described type nearby, but since there were too many tracks of elephants, hippos, and other large mammals, it was impossible to make out a particular spoor with any amount of certainty.
So I just want to note a couple of things here on this quote. One is the idea that it's an herbivore. The size of its neck is another thing. Because as you were speaking to earlier, is, what did you call it? I called it a game of telephone, but like
Language drift.
language drift. Right. So in the 80s, and I'm not going to get to that case yet today, but the expeditions that were launched uncovered various other animals, because they were classified as animals by these people, that had different traits that were also cryptids, are also cryptids. And one of them looks a whole lot like a rhinoceros.
Yeah.
So is it possible that there could still be a rhinoceros and the name has drifted? They had a separate name for the thing that looked like a rhinoceros. I also wanted to note real quick that artist in the background, I believe this is Charles Knight, one of my favorite paleo artists. This background, not the foreground. He's done a lot of work for museums, including the Chicago Field Museum, a lot of classical or very early paleo art, which is very cool. So in 1934, we get this other account written to the Avenir Colonial Belge article. Some anonymous Belgian in 1934 reads this. Oh, let me pull this up. I'm sorry. This was the background here is what I was speaking to. It's Charles Knight.
They call it the Sankey. When they describe it, the blacks tell you it exceeds the tallest trees. The body is like that of a formidable ox, with a large tail. Its neck is immense and ends in a rather small head on which it has a large crest like a cockscomb. It dwells in the swamps and swims at a very great speed. In Kazai, I even heard of a native chief who jealously guarded the tail of a brontosaur.
I want to meet that chief.
Yeah.
I want to see his brontosaur tail.
I would jealously guard it as well.
I would
honestly.
too. I don't blame the guy, honestly. If I had a brontosaur tail, I would be all about guarding it. I don't know how I would preserve it. If I would desiccate it, or if I would flash freeze it.
Both solid options.
I'd probably talk to that Masan guy about it.
Uh-huh.
So here we have another case of an article in the periodical Umschau. Leo von Boxberger. He's a German magistrate from 1938. So, again, these are all very early cases.
You know that picture, the more I see pictures and renditions of this, the more it makes sense to me that it's something that's feasible, because if you think about the area that it's in, there's not like there's giraffes or anything to compete with tall
That's
food.
true.
It is the only thing competing with tall food and with the size and stature that it is, it's not like it's going to have any difficulty dealing with the current run of natural predators in an area like that. So it would be almost uncontested for survival.
Well, and one thing that I would note of both of these pictures, both the background picture, the Charles Knight picture, as well as the one in the foreground, they show these sauropod dinosaurs in water. It's now believed that this was a misinterpretation of their biology, but they believed they were so big that they couldn't really walk on land, that they must have been a very aquatic or at least semi-aquatic species, which has largely gone out the window now. They don't really believe that of the sauropods nowadays. But
Okay.
all right, so let's listen to this guy's account real quick.
My own contribution to the subject is unfortunately very small. At the mouth of Mbam in Sanaga in central Cameroons and on the NT in southern Cameroons, I collected a variety of data from the natives about the mysterious water beast. But alas, all my notes, and also the local description of the animal, were lost in Spanish Guinea when the Pangwat attacked the caravan carrying my few belongings. All that I can report is the name Mbakalamurme given to the animal in southern Cameroons.
Mokili Mbembe.
The belief in a gigantic water animal, described as a reptile with a long thin neck, exists among the natives throughout the southern Cameroons, wherever they form part of the Congo Basin, and also to the west of this area. Doubtless wherever the great rivers are broad and deep, and are flanked by virgin forest. This belief seems to be widespread throughout the Congo Basin. The monster is herbivorous and mainly feeds on the luxuriant aquatic vegetation of this region. To do this, it does not come out of the water until after sunset. Its preferred habitat is in places where, as a result of the force of the current, deep and peaceful creeks have formed. These are the features common to all indigenous stories of this kind.
So again, we're talking about something very aquatic and
And
herbivore.
what's interesting about
Long neck.
this note to me is that all of these descriptions of it are exactly like you're saying, and they're all the same, and they're coming from disparate tribes that aren't necessarily all connected through family or politics or religion or anything of that nature. Tribes that may even often be at war at each other and be slandering the other's religion at the time. And mythology, things like this, kind of fit under that umbrella as well. So it wouldn't be, in my eyes, very likely that these tribes would be coming to the same conclusions
Right.
in a disparate fashion if there wasn't some kind of underlying
Something
creature
that they
there.
both saw that was real,
Exactly.
to them at least.
Well, and I'm going to pull up a map of the area when we're done here, just to kind of show you the region a little bit from what I can show you. And you're right; these tribes aren't always in contact with each other. They live in small groups, so you have different names for things. Even there might be a tribe that doesn't. Again, that's where that language drift happens. So I'll try to find, I don't have it pulled up right now, but I'll try to find the one that looks like a rhino that was also documented, the other cryptid,
Gotcha.
which probably is just a rhino. My guess would be Occam's razor that there's probably some rhinos that managed to survive in the Congo. That's never been proven, but we'll find
Yeah,
out.
I would imagine.
So this guy, Pierre Alexandre, French anthropologist and linguist, has this account in around 1960.
During a tour of the DJ, discovered that the Zaman people refused to
It's not
take
a
their
direct
canoes
quote.
out onto the open water of the river out of fear of an unnamed monster. This animal was described as having a long neck, at least as long as 6 Alexandre's leg, a head like a big turtle, hard or scaly skin, and a body initially compared to a car, a machine with which the Zaman were only cursorily familiar. Pressed further on the monster's size, they stated that it was much larger than a 200-liter gasoline barrel, but smaller than an elephant. It was alleged to live in deep water, coming out only during the night, and left tracks the shape and size of a large paddle. While it did not eat people, it was feared for its habit of overturning canoes and drowning the occupants.
So I believe the Makili Mbembe actually means something like one who stops rivers or something like that. So in this, we're getting a very similar description. It says as long as 6 foot his leg is what I'm reading there. There's like his leg plus at least another 6 feet. And they talk about its body and its size. So we're not necessarily talking about the largest sauropod on the planet that we know of. Like, this thing actually sounds pretty small for something that would be like a plesiosaur or a sauropod.
You know, it makes sense for them not to be the same size as it would be if it had an evolutionary ancestor in the
Mhm.
dinosaurs, especially, you know, oxygen levels have gone down. I imagine that.
It just wouldn't be advantageous to something to be that big today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe. And this all the accounts of its size, it's big. It's big, but it's not like Megasaurus or, you know.
It's not a walking house.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like a walking car.
I mean, it could be the same reason why we don't have giants anymore. You
Yeah.
know, like giant people, like what they've found before. Times have changed. Air, like you said, the air's changed.
So some of these other pictures that I've included in
we-
here are connected. They're more of a preview to the stuff that hopefully we'll get to in the 80s. And it's just something to look at. It's not connected to this Dr. Pierre Nguyen.
It's Win.
Nguyen?
Yeah, it's my sister's last name.
Say it again?
Win.
Wen? It's just Wen? Pierre Wen? He was in French Equatorial Africa. I believe he was stationed there between 58 and 59.
According to the tradition transmitted by the parents of their parents, in these swamps of Lake Telel would live a beast that looks like an enormous pangolin. They told me that if it crossed the arm of the Locala oak herbs at the post of Erpina, its tail would still drag on the shore as its head and its forelegs would have reached opposite bank, which would give it a length of 20 meters.
So I don't know about the pangolin connection there. But just to give you some idea of the size of the thing, I think it's an interesting account. Not a whole lot of value there besides that. Then we have Waldfried Ted Roth. He was the general curator of the Smithsonian National Zoological Park. This is somewhere near OME River in 1959.
Roth's Wasi guides refused to cross a swamp for fear
Again,
of
not
this
a direct
animal.
quote.
The MK assured you possibly a contraction of Mokomembe. Upon returning to a nearby village, the local chief, who spoke poor English, told him that the swamp was home to water elephants, which were not related to normal elephants. He described these animals as far larger than elephants, with a long neck described as a trunks coming out of the body featuring a small head, flat paddle-like forelimbs, and a long whip-like tail. The MKMP was not supposed to kill men feeding on herbs and small trees, but it would trample them to death. Roth drew a picture of a manatee for the chief, who said that the body of the MKMB was similar, but the neck was much longer, and the head was more like that of a monitor lizard.
Interesting. So it's got quite a lot of accounts coming from quite a few time periods here, and this is only what we've been through,
Yeah, well, this is like the 60s now.
you know, about 50, 60
So,
years.
We start at, really less. It was started in 1912. We're in the 60s. So we're 40 years or 50 years. What I think is interesting here is about this language drift. You know, he talks about it being called the MKNB, NB, which he believes is a reference to the Mokele and Mbembe.
Yeah.
In other words, he's talking to maybe not the exact same group of people, and they have a similar name for it, but it might not be the exact name for it.
No, and describing it as a water elephant.
So I just threw this in here.
Is that a tortoise?
This is a soft shell turtle, indigenous to the area.
That's horrifying.
It looks almost like a small lake monster, right?
Yeah, I would freak out if that swam up next to me.
I think they're really cool. The idea that this is a misidentification, though, they don't get that big, and the people of the area know what these are.
What if it is like a mutant that got that big, though?
Honestly, it freaks me out because you ever seen Cannibal Holocaust,
Yeah.
where they eat the turtle? They like kill a turtle on screen in that movie, and it's like a soft shell turtle like this. It's, for some reason, it reminded me. Anyway, just an interesting. I don't see that being mistaken. I think an elephant would more likely be mistaken given the descriptions that I'm reading and that we just looked at. This is something that I found. This is again from the, I believe they were the Mekelle expeditions, and I had managed to find this book, In Search of Prehistoric Survivals. Do giants still exist? Or giant creatures still exist, by Carl P.N. Schuker. And this is a picture of the author with an apparent footprint or plaster cast of a Mokele Mbembe footprint.
Well, I'll tell you, that doesn't look like any footprint of anything that I know. It looks like a big frog.
It does kind of look like a frog.
Well, and this is where we start to get into the more modern stuff, and I'm not necessarily prepared to do that, so that's where we're going to leave it. But in terms of my question, why am I disappointed that there was some sort of drift between the language? At least was it a language drift? Perfect term.
Feels
I'm
like
so
there
glad
was
you said
something
that.
there, and it feels like there was. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
Go ahead.
no. You're 100% right. I think there was a language drift. I think that's what explains it.
It feels like it's almost a regional drift too. Like these
Mhm.
tribes had maybe a common tribe a long time ago, or one or two that they split off from. They fractured and splintered into several different groups, and that legend carried throughout. When we see legends like this, like urban legends specifically, even though this isn't like urban legend's a misnomer, but it's that same kind of mythological presence that an urban legend would carry in our society, something like Mothman, where it kind of carries through, and it plays a game of telephone from generation to generation, but it's still enriched or entrenched culturally into that small sect of people throughout the generations, even if they're split off from that original one.
Yep, and I think I just found it here. Okay. So this is another cryptid that the people of this area talk about. That was originally... Screen grab up. With me? Okay. So, in another expedition... Sorry, tiny screen. Let me look at the big one. This is another cryptid that these people talk about.
Oh, rhinoceros.
Tell me that doesn't look like a rhinoceros. Or something like a rhino.
It looks like a rhino dog.
So,
Killer of elephants, or eater of the tops of trees. Eater of the tops of trees makes that interesting to me. Because that feels like some language drift too. Like there's a reason that documentary said that, because that thing does not look like it could eat from the tops of trees.
Right.
Do you know what does? Mokele and Mbembe.
right. So this was a documented cryptid during the Mekelle expeditions, which is something I want to dive deeper into, but without going entirely into it tonight. Suffice it to say, this is the list of other cryptids that were documented on this expedition. Now,
Click on Mabilu. He looks fun.
Malum, Balum, Balum.
Oh yeah, he's a
That's
fun
a Stegosaurus.
guy. He's a fun guy.
I can't speak much to all of these, but this one in particular, who is to say that the myth of Mokele Mbembe hasn't somewhat transferred into the myth of this, which is really just a rhinoceros, through language drift over generations. That would be my guess of what's happening there, because the reality is the Bayaka pygmies that they're talking to in that documentary aren't the only people who have myths of the Mokele Mbembe. I think they are one of many regionally who do. So the names can easily be swapped, for lack of a better term, between different cultures. What one culture may call Mokele Mbembe, another culture may call this. I did want to share this, which was an apparent recording of a Mokele Mbembe.
Interesting.
Yeah, I believe it was the Rudsters expedition. Just for the sake of sharing media, here is a audio recording.
I hear the like guttural roar noise, but it sounds like they're in a plane almost.
I was gonna say it sounds like a train.
Like that's a lot of background noise.
Well, if you listen very closely, you can hear it say, "I am Mokele Mbembe."
Oh,
I also wanted to share this photo, which was also from the Regusters expedition. Again, just for the sake of sharing media, don't have much of a story behind it to report to you, but this is going into more of the modern era. I
like
believe
that
it was
picture.
the 80s expedition. Again, interesting one. I don't know what we're looking at.
it's got a vibe to it. That
Yeah.
is either it's either Mokele Mbembe or a dead body.
Well, I feel like in the Sasquatch world, you would call this all blob squatches, you know?
Yeah.
But we're talking about an animal or a species that can exist only in a very small space in the world. A very hard to get to space, a very deadly to get to space. Allow me to pull up a map of sightings. Shift this over to me for a minute. We're gonna do satellite. Okay. Gosh. Okay. So here are apparent Mokele Mbembe sightings.
Can we zoom out and see?
Yep.
Yeah.
To show you where we're at in Africa. We're very near the equator in the Congo, in the dark heart of Africa. And I mean, the reason why I pulled up the satellite here is just so you can see the vegetation and how dense the environment becomes. So these are apparently ones in the southeast. And then we have a few sightings in the northeast, which I believe this is closer to the Cameroon. Now, the focal point of most of these investigations have been Lake Tele. Let me see. Allow me to try to pull up a map. So, I mean, it's not like we're familiar with Africa. So that's Africa. Everybody recognizes that, right?
No.
Here's Lake Tele.
Why is it such a perfect hole in the ground?
It's kind of freaky, right?
Looks like a monster.
So these rivers, I had read one account where they talked about this Ipina, being the center of some of those 80s expeditions, seemed to be the cultural center of where people were most aware of this Mokele and Mbembe. And on a number of these expeditions, they want to make it out to Lake Telly, and they don't numerous times, just because it's so impossible to get to. But they talk about the people who live along the river knowing of it, but they essentially inform you need to go talk to the pygmies out in the brush. They're the ones who really know about it. We just kind of have this, awareness of it. Although you do find people who say they've seen them, but in this kind of environment, I mean, like, there's no road.
No,
Good
there's
luck
no way
ever
through.
finding a road.
And everything in those trees, it is trying to kill you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, okay, those are big trees, right? This lake is
Mhm.
huge.
This lake's huge. It's a very big lake. Well, and it's surrounded by what is essentially swampland, Look at this picture. This picture alone is impressive. Just to give a feeling for the environment here. So if ever there was a possibility of, and the reality is, I don't think this thing is a sauropod. I think we might be talking about a plesiosaur, or let's be real, let's talk about convergent evolution. The idea that maybe this thing is closer related to an elephant. So you know what the closest living relative to an elephant is?
I don't.
A manatee. The closest
Interesting.
living relative of a manatee is an elephant. Ironically, an elephant shrew is closer related to an elephant than a shrew. But that's a whole nother story. There are situations in evolution where something fills an ecological niche with a completely different set of genetics. There's something like a hedgehog that's closer related to an elephant than a hedgehog or any other rodent, other than maybe like the elephant shrew. Because it was isolated on an island, and eventually those genetics filled that ecological gap and made something that looked like a hedgehog, even though it's not related to a hedgehog at all. So my point is, if elephants can be in this area, and we know elephants are related to manatees and are kind of an isolated tree of life, who's to say that this thing isn't something like a manatee? Because in one of those accounts, I don't know if it was one of the ones I played, but they talk about showing them a manatee, and they say, yeah, it's like that, but it's got a really long neck.
Yeah, they did. You did show that one.
Is it possible that this could be something that lives in very small groups or in a very, very small population and is more related to an elephant than it is a sauropod or a plesiosaur, which I think it would probably be more like a plesiosaur given its size and hiding in the water. Sauropods weren't likely to be hiding in water. Could this be something that has some sort of convergent evolution to look like a plesiosaur but is closer related to something like an elephant?
I think you might be onto something.
And does it even still exist? It seems to be these accounts that it did exist 100 years ago. This region is so untouched, you would think it would still exist, but
it wouldn't be the first species we've had go extinct in the past 100 years.
right. Although it does seem like its environment is largely untouched. I mean, looking at this photography, it's pretty, you're kind of expecting to see a dinosaur pop out at you.
You're trekking around in Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's about all I have on it. I think I've beaten it to death for today. I'll try to do some work on the Mikkel expeditions and some of the later 80s expeditions, but I really wanted to find... One of the problems that I am not talking about in it is I couldn't find Mikkel's book because it is like $500 and I couldn't find a digital copy, and I don't want to talk about it until I can read the man's book, so...
Reasonable. Out of all the various different lake monsters, I put the most probability in this one being legitimate.
Oh, here's the book. If you have a digital copy of this book, please send it to me. I'm struggling to find one. and I don't have $500 to spend on it. So, Living Dinosaur in Search of the Mokele Mbembe by Roy P. McCall. But he's kind of attributed to bringing it into the modern parlance again, and sort of reignited some interest in it in some of these excursions he's started to do. This was in 1987, it looks like. Yeah, this was all in the 80s. So we'll come back to it. I'm going to try to find this book first, though. I don't want to talk about it without being able to at least skim through his book. What do you guys, let's see, where are we at?
We are at about 2 hours in, about 10
Coming
minutes
up on
shy
2
of 2
hours.
hours.
Well, what do you guys think about this? I know I've asked you a couple of times, but now that I've laid out all that I have to lay out for you.
I give it a solid 3.5 to 4 stars out of 5 in terms of its believability.
Yeah.
And I
On the
give
cryptid scale?
Yeah, on the cryptid
I
scale. I don't know how many stars there normally are on the cryptid scale, but right now it's going to be 5. You know, if there's anywhere it's going to be in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it has good vegetation. It has places to eat. Nobody's bothering it.
I don't think much outside of people could bother it in that lake anyway. None of the
Yeah.
animals there are going to be trekking into its environment to try and get at it. So,
And I can't understate the political situation there. You're going to get killed. Especially, if you're a white guy trying to walk in the jungle there.
don't go to the Congo, but if you do,
Probably not where you want to hang out.
If you do, let me know. Give me that video footage, alright?
Yeah, we want to know about the Mokele Mbembe. It's just a really hard thing to document. If it does exist, you're not only dealing with the environment, you're dealing with this situation in which you're liable to be shot because it's like a constant civil war in these regions. And then you have to find a way to communicate with tribal people who usually don't have anyone amongst them who knows English. So you have to bring some sort of translator. And the translator is usually going to be somebody from one of these towns along the river, which you probably need a translator in and of itself just to talk to them.
Yeah.
So the accessibility of this is a near zero.
It would take some serious resources and manpower to be able to make an expedition like that happen safely.
I want this one to be real more than anything, just because I'm a big dinosaur nut, kind of. It really is hard to say. I always say Sasquatch, I would put the odds in Sasquatch's favor. I'd be more likely to believe it exists than it doesn't exist. With this, there's so little information to try to pick through the bones of to get to the heart of the matter. So, kind of like the dark heart of Africa.
I don't know, man. This one feels like it has some credence, like some real credence to it. It feels more real than Nessie. I love Nessie, bro.
There have been some more recent attempts to try to come into contact with people who know something about the Mokele Mbembe or it itself.
Yeah.
There was a documentary a couple years ago called Hitched that was aired, I believe, on New Zealand's Discovery Channel. I attempted to find this documentary, and so far I have failed. I cannot find it on any legitimate nor illegitimate sites. It was Hitched Congo is what it was called, and it just looked like some goofy guys who went out and risked life and limb to go look for this thing.
We respect them.
Unfortunately, on their website, it says it's free to stream, and when you sign in or create an account, there's literally nothing on the site. All the video links are broken. So I don't know how or if I'll be able to find that one.
They were taken down by the Congo government to make sure their dinosaur stayed hidden.
When that was a 2018, essentially, expedition from 2 stoner-looking dudes from New Zealand. So it's not as though it's completely lost to history. It's still a relevant thing in some circles. The other one is a guy who was on Rogan. I forget his name. Try to look it up real quick, but he also attempted to go find this thing. I believe he even admits, I think it's David Cho is his name.
Gotcha. I can't say I've heard of him.
Here we go. This guy who's rather a madman.
Ooh.
Oh, I've seen him before.
Eradicash
Yeah.
said he'd give it 4 out of 5 big feets. On the
Bigfoots
cryptid
or Big
scale.
Fi. Yeah, this guy, David Cho, interesting dude. He's got some stories about going to try to find it, and it's not so much about Mokele Mbembe as it is himself and what a journey it was. So
Interesting.
I don't think he really added anything scientifically to the conversation.
But he tried.
But
Get it
yeah,
out there.
and when it's another very modern example. I think the bulk of the matter that's left for me to research again is like the 80s and 90s stuff. But there are some even more modern examples just to point out too of people trying to look into this, but scientific circles is not taken seriously at all. What do you guys think? Let us know. darkdial.com. Comment, like, subscribe. Here, I'll do the thing. You guys want to do the thing?
Oh,
Yeah, let's do the
let's
thing.
All right, you
We
ready?
have to
3,
do the
2,
thing.
1, the thing.
Like, subscribe, and get notifications.
Yay!
The thing scares me.
If you guys want to hear more about Mokele Mbembe, please do put something in the comments or go on the forum and let me know, because it's something I want to research, because I don't know as much about it as I'd like to. So there's some meat on the bone, I think, there for me. Otherwise, I can go into something like Sasquatch. Hitch Congo is on Google under Hitch Congo. Yeah, I wasn't able to find the videos themselves, though. Everything was broken. I was able to Google like their YouTube and stuff, and they had some trailers, but I wasn't able to get full episodes. Thank you, though, Marty. Yeah, I if it's something you don't want to hear about, let me know, and I'll go into Justin Smahy shooting Bigfoots. Maybe I'll do that anyway, and
I think that's something we have to talk about anyway. That's fine.
I might do that next week, and leave this for maybe the week after or next month or something.
The giant African dinosaurs will come back around.
I mean-
you can't miss them.
How do you pass up a topic like that?
And realistically, it is like one of the more legitimate cryptids that are out there. Even in terms of like that video is pretty legit. How are they gonna get someone out there to even fake it? How are they gonna get a piece of equipment
You're
big
not.
enough? Like,
You're
Well,
not.
and even when they tried, it didn't look the same. It didn't flow the same in the water. It just,
Well, I think you're talking about like some Loch Ness or other lake monsters, which there's a lot of other lake monsters. There's the Lake Champlain monster, Champ, the Loch Ness monster, just to name a few.
there's one in Lake Erie, I think.
I think there's a lot of lakes have stories of lake monsters. Which I mean, like Lake Champlain's a whole nother thing. I'm thinking they found echolocation in the lake and stuff like that. I'd love to do those too. I like lake monsters. They're fun, and I like dinosaurs a
They
lot.
are fun. They're classic.
Uh-huh.
Phineas and Ferb did an episode on lake monsters.
I could chew the rag about Bigfoot all day, though. Like, I could almost rehearse to you that Justin Smahy story of some of the other ones, but I'd rather have the details prepared so I can tell you exactly what dates things were done and what the time frames were. I just kind of have the broad strokes of those.
You know, and honestly, if anybody out there knows a live Bigfoot who's willing to give an interview with us, that would be phenomenal. If you could pass their info along to us, we'll get in touch and get it all set up.
I mean, I had a grandfather who very much resembled a Bigfoot.
Yeah? Do you think he was part Bigfoot?
I don't know about part Bigfoot. Albino gorilla
Ah,
would be
I'll do it.
one characterization.
Do it.
An affable albino gorilla. I mean, that's the wrong word. Lovable. Anyway. Well, I don't know. Do you guys want to take a break before we go into the time travel
I think
stuff?
it's about that time.
All
We'll
right.
play them some music, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, so
Give you
we're-
guys 5 or 10 minutes. Get your popcorn in order.
Yeah, we're gonna take somewhere around 5-10 minutes. Go pee, get a drink. You do the same. We'll be back. We're gonna put a title card up with some music. We'll be back, and we're gonna cover some time travel cases.
Yeah.
Just kind of an
top
overview of
10.
them. And then we're gonna take calls, and I think G-Man J is gonna call
Yeah,
in.
we do have some callers that we know for certain are making it in tonight. So we've got some interesting stuff for you guys.
Well, I hope he calls. I don't know if he's watching. He hasn't said anything, but we have our own personal G-Man here at Dark Dial, and he was gonna give us a call. We even have a vague representation of him to show you.
True. It is not him. If it were, he would have to kill you.
It's true. He's a G-Man. So
I'm excited to chat.
No
in the
doubt.
meantime,
our
if you
break.
can do the whole like, subscribe thing, please do. And we'll see you in like 10
We'll
minutes.
be right back.
Wait, over here. No, wait.
We're live. We're back.
Welcome back to Dark Dial. I cannot do your voice.
You have to channel
does
your
like that.
inner mood.
Welcome to Dark Dial.
Welcome
There you go.
to Dark
Oh,
Dial.
that was pretty
It's
good.
so
That was
weird.
good. That was
Welcome
good.
to Dark Dial.
You gotta be like, welcome to Dark Dial.
Welcome to Dark Dial.
Oh, that was good. That was funny.
We're gonna put some jams up because I failed to put them up in the first half,
Is this some
and
problem bear?
I felt like something was missing. No, this is just some lo-fi.
Okay.
Problem Bear's
The
great,
jams, they're kicking.
but I don't want to talk over Phil's music.
Too good.
It's too
I
good.
agree. It's amazing.
You gotta listen to it.
Spotify. The problem bear.
Problem Bear, yeah, you can find him on Spotify. That music that's in the title card. He's a friend of the show. Lets us use that music. Great stuff. Great musician. So,
We need to get him back down here so he can perform on the show.
You know.
oh, that'd be cool. We
that
could
would be
I would
cool.
absolutely love that.
put him like right on the.
Yes.
Just have him serenade us with an
I would
acoustic.
love it.
That would be beautiful.
Throw a mic in front of him.
Phil, if
Mhm.
you're watching this go around, hit us
Phil,
up.
we need you to come back, please. We need you. And your really, really good coffee.
I can't
makes
speak
the
to that. I
best
don't like
coffee. It's like some kind of special pressed coffee and organic and fancy, and
Put
it's
rocks in it.
I don't know what he does, but it's really good.
Phil, if you're watching, you should call in
That'd
a
be
little bit here after this
amazing.
segment, because I think he's got some stories he could tell us. I don't want to get into it, but I think he's got some supernatural stories.
Exciting.
I hope we get some really good stories tonight.
I hope so. We'll see. G-Man J said he's got something for us. I don't know what it is.
Right.
The dogs have been oddly quiet tonight. What's George doing
No,
over
George
there?
is going nuts over who knows what.
It's a
His
spider?
toy broke.
So
We did-
now everything is. his
Yeah,
toy.
everything is his toy now because he's upset. Go and get him another one. He already went through his donut, then his star. He needs another squishy.
Yeah, he goes through like dollar toys like they're nothing.
All right, everyone, go ahead and write in chat if you want to see George dressed up as an alien. We'll take him.
Or dressed
to
up as
Congress.
anything.
Well, we have those Dark Dial shirts on the ready. We're not marketing them yet, but behind Jacqueline, there's a shirt
You can get him.
for Dark Dial Night. No, they can't get them yet. They're
There's
exclusive.
tanks.
We might run a
and
couple of
Can't get 'em.
cons.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a sweater available because winter's coming.
Oh my God, it is. That's why I'm in a long sleeve shirt today for the first time in 8 months.
Yeah. Well, we wake up around 5:30ish on the weekdays, and it's starting to get dark. So
At, like,
I open the blinds, and I'm
6:37.
like, "All right, let's wake up." Just kidding. It still looks like it's nighttime.
Yep,
And
it
Cheyenne has
is,
to walk to the bus like that.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, 6:14 in the morning comes very early, and dark makes it even harder.
That is.
There we go.
The only
yeah.
good part about summer is you can wake up and it's bright.
It is way too hot out here during. I was not expecting it to be as hot as it was
Yeah,
for
it
as
was rough this
temperate
summer.
as an environment that we live in.
Dun dun dun. Is there any music playing?
I don't hear it.
You don't
I
hear
do
any
not
music?
hear
No,
anything.
unfortunate.
It's
George, did
playing.
you find
Try
any
switching the dial on and off. Or hang on. Tell me if
Is
you
it
hear
us?
this.
All right, kids, don't touch that dial.
Do you hear the ding?
I do not hear.
Switch the
anything.
Bluetooth on and off. We might have lost it during break somehow.
I do apologize for the minor technical difficulties, everyone. We have got most of this coming together, but every once in a while, one
I
of
mean,
the
it's week
threads
3.
just
We're
kinda
learning. And
messed
George
up.
is over here going nuts over an ant. It's been raining so much, the ant is probably getting through. Crazy.
He has a friend. He gets to play with him.
George, where's your toy?
It's in the trash.
Do you want to come say hi?
It's in the trash.
Come here. Come say hi. Marley, you'll have your turn. There we
We've
go.
got the jam.
I was gonna say it bumped up in volume for a minute there. I think
Georgie, say hi to the world.
All right, George.
Say hi,
and
world.
how do you feel about consciousness being a presupposition to matter?
I said I'm not from this world, yo.
Truly awe-inspiring and inspirational words, and I don't think I could have said it better myself. Now, George, if you would, please take us away.
Come on, George. What do you have to say? That I'm from the unknown, man. I don't know what's going on here.
He
Your
thinks
universe
a lot.
is nuts. Your
He
universe
thinks
is
a
nuts.
lot.
Man, this presenter
Alright, go
software is
change your ear
terrible.
up, bud. Marley, you want to come say hi?
Uh,
Come on, bud. No, George.
Now, while George may be a swamp creature from the unknown plains of a planet far, far removed from our own, Marley, he's a chill dude.
Marley is 13. He is the sweetest boy in the world. I imagine his voice sounding a lot like Eeyore.
Oh, I can picture that.
Yeah, just super slow and very sad. He just kind of mopes around these days.
Marley's got like a sixth sense. You should talk about that
Look
because
at him,
that's
he's like
He has been
posing right
the
now.
best dog my whole adult life. Good boy. Make you famous, huh? What make you famous?
All right, everybody, who are we dressing up first, Marley or George?
Marley doesn't mind being dressed up. George goes a little schizophrenic.
Both sound equally as fun.
Yeah, I think we should do it both. Maybe take a vote on what we can dress him as on Halloween.
We dress them as cat dog.
Do it. I'm down.
Stick them together. And they're
Yes.
stuck. Oh my god. Me.
I mean, they're already kind of like a two-headed one dog. They're glued together all the
really
They
time.
are.
Every
Yeah.
time I pet Marley, George runs up.
Yeah.
He runs up like backwards to him, so it's like
They
boom.
just want to be together all the time.
Marley
He's
has a
such a
kind of
good boy.
sixth sense.
Yeah.
He,
Oh,
he's, he likes most people. He's only growled at like 2 people, and
Yeah.
one is like a soon-to-be convicted pedophile.
Yep.
And the other was just a bad dude.
He knows.
Marley can feel things. I truly
Mhm.
believe it.
Yeah, he senses
Come on.
things. Also, he looks like the dragon from the Neverending Story.
Yes.
Oh my god.
The luck dragon, does he not?
Oh yeah, totally.
He he is the dragon from Neverending Story.
Hello.
Why can't I think of the name? Well, if you know the name of the luck dragon,
I don't.
I'm looking
but
at you,
it's
Erratic-ish.
been a long time since I've seen that movie.
it'll come to me. All right. So time travel, huh? Should we do some time travel?
Let's
I would
do
like to commit
it.
time travel.
Me too.
Do you have a microwave?
Did you say
and
you'd like to
some
commit
bananas?
time travel?
I mean,
All right. I have a question. It's kind of a personality question. Time travel exists, okay?
Yep.
In this scenario, a small elite group of U.S. intelligence agents have access to a time travel device, and you are being recruited.
Uh-huh.
You can accept or deny this recruitment. Your mission is one and one thing only.
That is.
You have to go back in time to grab Benjamin Franklin's ass. Now you will be transported back to the future, and your mission will be over. Do you accept the mission?
indeed. Come on.
I gotta.
Let's do
I
it.
gotta.
You're down, Jacqueline?
I'm down.
I'm down. 100%. I'm going back in time.
I mean, just to have the experience alone, I
Just to
would
say
do, yeah,
you,
whatever.
you can
who
do
cares?
it. Yeah.
Now the question then becomes: what if it's the old teleportation question of do you die and just get reformed in a different time place, and does your consciousness stream continue once you travel through time?
No, we're not doing Star Trek teleporter nonsense here. That's not the question. The question is he going to be at some sort of like urinal from 200 years ago?
That's okay.
And he just, you grab his butt and then he looks over his shoulder and you're gone.
He's gonna think a ghost touched his ass.
Totally.
Are there any reports of a ghost touching Benjamin
I
Franklin's
don't know. We
house?
should Google it.
I don't know about Ben Franklin.
Maybe we
Dan
already did
Aykroyd
it.
has some interesting story about a ghost crawling into bed with him.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear.
That scene in Ghostbusters was inspired
really
by a
true.
real experience he had. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna pull
There's
this
so
up
many
here.
other ones that might be as good as these, but I've been doing this all week, and these are the ones I thought were kind of cool.
So we got teleportation and time travel, real or fake. You want to read a little bit, Chance?
Yeah, absolutely.
This one we're gonna actually read instead of have a voice read it to us.
We've got the top 10 most convincing real-life time travel stories to present to you here today. Number 10. Oh,
Oops.
dear. Oh dear.
Well, I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. We're counting down.
Counting
Number
down
10.
from 10 to 1.
One of my personal favorites, to tell
Yes.
you the truth, we have the curious case of John Titor. John claimed to be a soldier from 2036 in a parallel timeline, shared photos and descriptions of his time machine. The time machine that he described, pictured on the bottom right there, was... it is very difficult to read the smaller text.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time seeing it. I'm sure they are too. You want me to do my best here?
Try
If you
to
could.
enlarge if possible.
Huh?
I said try to enlarge
I kind
if
of don't
possible.
have a way to do that. I just gotta old school this. Time machine. Is it Teeter or Titer?
I have pronounced it both ways my entire life, and
Teeter?
it
I always
honestly
hear Teeter.
alternates depending on if the day of the week ends in Y or not.
It says, time machine. Teeter described his time machine on several occasions. In one early post, he described it as a stationary mass temporal displacement unit powered by two top-spin dual positive singularities and producing a standard offset Tipler sinusoid. The earliest post was more explicit, detailing the components of the machine. Two magnetic housing units for the dual microsingularities, an electron injection manifold to alter mass and gravity of the microsingularities, and cooling and X-ray venting, gravity sensors, or a magnetic gravity lock, 4 main cesium clocks, 3 main computer units.
I mean, it's so detailed, guys. What do you
It's
think?
Very detailed.
It is very detailed. Sorry, Gavin, go ahead. I didn't cut you off again.
No, you go ahead. This is like your favorite. I want to talk about it too. So I'll.
The detail that's in it. I mean, there's pictures. He put pictures
There's so
of
many
this
more
machine
too.
out there. I mean, there's like visible evidence of it sitting. And I mean, okay, so I'll give this. It is very Back to the Future-esque. He's got it sitting in an old Chevy sports car, an old muscle car, essentially. Is where this time machine's sitting. But, you know, it's very detailed. His story is thorough and it is consistent. He doesn't break consistency or character if we're looking at it with an implication that he is, you know, playing a character here. There are, however, some interesting things of note.
Can you back up and just explain where this if it's a myth or if it's real, where it comes from, real quick?
Yes, indeed. This comes actually from Coast to Coast AM. There was a caller and a user on the BBS.
What's Coast to Coast AM?
It's an old paranormal call-in radio show. I believe it actually still runs today.
Oh yeah. I
However,
listen to
Art
it.
Bell was the big face of Coast to Coast for a long time. He unfortunately passed away a few years back, and the show still runs without his presence. But most of the main history that you'll hear come out of Coast to Coast is going to be during the Art Bell era. I want to say he started in the 70s or 80s.
I don't know if it's that far back, but a lot of this comes from this guy posting on his message boards. So like when we try to get people to go to darkdial.com to sign up for our forum, it was essentially an old version of that called a bulletin board system or a BBS system. I don't know if it was old enough to have singular like phone number lines that you had to dial into. But it was an older forum system, and somebody on there claimed to be this time traveler, John Teeter, and explained a very detailed story of his time machine. And the purpose for it was they were looking for the IBM What machine was it?
It was an old 3086 or something like that. It was a very old. I may have the number wrong.
It's not a 3086, but
It was a very old IBM machine, and
it's because of Unix code.
the
The timestamps in Unix code in the year 2036.
It was like a Y2K before or after Y2K. Essentially,
It'll be after Y2. We still haven't hit it yet. As a Unix on a 32-bit system, the timestamps only go so far, and I want to say somewhere around the year 2036 or somewhere after that, there could potentially be another Y2K. Now, to be honest, as much as I love this story, I think it was a very well fabricated sci-fi-esque hoax.
You think it was from it was like a lawyer guy?
There's 2 lawyers, I think.
Yeah, there's
I
some
don't
people
know,
who
though,
have
but how did they put so many details into it?
It is very, very thorough and very,
why
very
do it?
consistent.
Why go through all the trouble to, for one, make something that detailed? Like, I don't get why they would do it. I don't know.
Ong's hat. Was that the one?
Is that like Occam's razor but different?
No, isn't Ong's hat the one with the egg?
Egg.
Like time traveling egg thing? The guys who it was a media hoax too.
I am unsure. I'm sorry. I
might have
know
the wrong
reference
name,
you're
but there was
making.
somebody who was involved in a similar media style hoax, and who claimed to have done this John Teeter thing. But then again, that lawyer has like a bunch of rights to the name.
But
I
they
don't
were
know.
registered after the story came. Years and years, like in the early 2000s, all of those
I'm not even
copyrights to
gonna-
that were registered.
I'm not even gonna lie. If you want to know more about this, that Y-Files episode on this was really good.
Or watch
Yes,
Steins
yes, it
Gate.
was.
Frankly, that'll teach you everything you need to know.
It's a great story, especially the old computer units being valuable. You know, I don't know if it'll show up on the main, the wide shot here, but there's a stack of old computers.
Well, okay, so just a few
above,
years ago, they were NASA
Cans.
and a bunch of other government things were actually buying these old computers off of
That's true.
eBay.
Yeah.
So I mean, why would they want those computers in particular if something is not?
No, there
going
was
on
there
with
was
them?
code. There was old code that they were trying to address, and the reality is, even like our nuclear launch
Run on
systems run on like
brownfield
5.5
systems.
inch,
There's
air gapped.
There's a concept in software engineering as brownfield and greenfield systems, and it kind of has a lot to do with that. Where brownfield systems are your legacy systems, they are typically entrenched in such a way that it would require complete shutdown and re-engineering of baseline infrastructure to be able to implement a greenfield system, where a greenfield system is a newer, more modern system that has the ability to have flexibility and scalability and things like that on top of it, where it can be pushed into the future without a complete and total infrastructure relapse. Overhaul.
I think you're getting maybe slightly wonky with it, but the basic concept is security through obscurity. That these offline systems can be more secure. Like if I were to send you a zip disk with an important file on it, would you be able to read it? You know, I would dare to say that 99% of people no longer have the ability to read a zip disk. So there's some
Yeah.
security in that.
Unless you have some old computers hanging around.
What do you mean?
No, what I'm getting at with the brownfield stuff is just that it's going to cost kind of a crazy amount of
Yeah.
resources and time to be able to replace that. So it kind of makes sense for them to buy what they can in terms of spares to be able to just outright replace that and try and keep that brownfield system running as long as possible.
Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah,
here?
I mean, this is just
Absolutely.
number 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're
I think it gets better from here.
Number
Noah.
9. Did you want me to read this? You want to read
Is
it?
it a little
Please do.
easier to read? It's a little
yeah,
bigger?
This one,
Okay, cool.
this one. That was just
It
with
was
it
a
being
bit-
so far away.
yeah, it
If
was
you're
a
in
bit
front of the
tiny, I'm
screen,
sorry.
sure- No, don't worry. So we've got Noah, the time traveler. Imagine if you could go back in time and meet your younger self. What would you say? Well, in 2017, a man calling himself Noah claimed to be from 2030, and he passed a lie detector test. He subsequently appeared in a video with a Noah from 2070. They provided vague descriptions of the future, like cars are very fast. They get pushed by the road. So, looks like in the future, no one understands how technology works either. It's a shame that 2018 Noah wasn't there too, but maybe 3 Noahs would have collapsed reality. Noah's predictions included advanced AI, a manned mission to Mars, and cures for cancer. Well, I'll tell you, those bottom 3 are
Already
all
happening. So I think, for
Yeah, but
one,
they're
I
also
think there's already mainly a cure for cancer because there's so much money that goes into research for cancer.
The military's had the cure for cancer stuffed in a vault somewhere in a mountain in the middle of, like, West Virginia for the past 36 years, and they just don't want to tell no one.
Probably.
I mean,
yeah.
They make a lot of money on cancer.
I would say those are safe predictions, though.
AI is already taking off. It's
It's
huge.
getting kind of wacky.
Yeah, I've seen the
And
Matrix.
Mission to Mars, hasn't that already been in the works?
I think so. I think
I believe that's already
I think
going
Musk
to be a
is in the
thing.
works to like launch himself to Mars on the back of a Tesla in like 5 years or something like that.
There's also a video on YouTube. I don't know, Gavin, if you want to pull that up. It's literally just Noah time travel. He's got some weird stuff on there. I don't know if I believe this one or not. I can imagine cars being pushed by the road. Like, you could use solar power.
It's like an escalator, right?
So the
You could
presenter
literally
software.
put solar panels on the road, put solar panels on your car somehow, make them move.
Well, I mean, if you're doing maglev, right? If you can figure out how to switch maglev properly and efficiently, like track switching and things like that, and you can figure out how to handle maglev traffic, then yeah, you are pushing the car by the road. It's electromagnetic levitation.
I kind of can't pull it up right now just because the presenter eats too many
Oh, yeah.
windows.
No worries.
So. All right, should I go to
Honestly,
number
I
8?
watched some of the videos. I don't know if I believe this one. The last 3 predictions, I mean, they're already in the works. All right. This
Number 8. Did you want to read?
year 5000 photo. I would not like to read that. I will let you do that.
What kind of evidence would we accept from a real time traveler? Well, in 2018, a man named Edward claimed to have traveled to the year 5000 and returned with photographic proof. Edward asserts that in 2004 he was selected for a secret project which sent him into the future. According to him, the photo he shared of an underwater city is actually Los Angeles 3,000 years in the future. By that time, the world will have been flooded by global warming and mankind will survive by living in floating cities, such as the one from which he took the photo. Whether it's true or not, we just hope the future isn't like water.
Okay.
You know,
I got nothing on that.
Water world kind of reasonable. I feel like we could get flooded again, and that
I definitely feel okay. So throughout history,
still
how
gonna be
many
land.
floods there's been a ton of floods? Or
there's
at
still
least
going to be the
in
land,
history,
but I
there's
mean
been a lot
that's
of
what
it.
he's talking about, floating cities. There's been a lot of floods, right? But he's
Well,
talking
I mean,
about
how many
floating cities,
times
that's
have they
fine.
said California is like that close to
Gonna
just
break
breaking
off
off,
and just
like
float away.
So I mean, I don't know.
I think it's
What do you think? I mean, it could be an AI generated photo. Who
I think
knows?
it's climate change alarmism just packaged romantically.
You know, I can get behind where you're coming from there.
Do you think we'll have an event like that in our lifetime, like a flood?
I don't think in our lifetime, no. I think, frankly, I think we're more likely to have an asteroid come out of absolutely nowhere and blow us to smithereens than we are.
Yeah, that's
to
pretty
have a flood
likely.
in our lifetime. I think it will happen, but I think it's going to be several, probably dozens of generations down the road. Personally,
Going to number 7 here, the Montauk Project. Hey, we talked about the Montauk Monster
we
earlier.
did,
Yeah, we
and it's
did.
actually related to this facility. By
Yeah.
the way, there's a lot going on there.
So this says, was Stranger Things inspired by real-life time travel experiments? Sort of. The hit Netflix show was influenced by the book, The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time by Preston B. Nichols and Peter Moon. I know Nichols' name. I didn't know the moon thing. In the book, Nichols shares his alleged experiences at Camp Hero in Montauk, where experiments on children with psychic powers supposedly opened portals to other dimensions and times. The book also describes the tale of Al Bielek.
That name's
Bielek?
familiar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I've heard the name. Who claims to have been part of the famous Philadelphia experiment in the 1940s, which supposedly teleported battleship USS Eldridge through time.
That's why I know that name.
And
They
then he
named
was
it Stuck in the
working-
Wall.
Yeah, the story was like he was working. He wasn't stuck in the wall, but it was like him and another guy, and then he's working at this facility, and he realizes like he has these like lost memories of the fact that he was involved in the Philadelphia experiment and this whole Montauk thing. Or it's all blurred and weird, and I've always struggled with this one because it's so outlandish.
The Montauk Project strikes a chord with me, man.
I was just gonna say, I really feel like you, of all people, would really believe in this.
There's I tell you what, I'm gonna look more into this one. I think I might have some interesting stuff to say on this one. I don't want to get too deep into it right now.
Yeah,
I
we're
think
just
when we get into the gate stuff
Uh-huh.
and I think we can really put this and the gate stuff together and make it
110%.
its own thing. We'll have
yeah.
to
And
make
this
a
is
whole
this is
nother
just a quick
show on that.
overview of like, hey, here's some fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I-
this was number 7. I don't know if I believe it or not. I honestly do think they've done a lot of experiments. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
do
totally.
think that
Well,
some people might have some kind of psychic powers.
And you can't get in that facility at all.
No.
Oh, I think everybody has psychic powers. Okay, I'm gonna drop the truth bomb on everyone.
Bam,
right
truth
Do
bomb,
it.
here it
Truth
comes.
bomb.
The
Hang on,
CIA,
hang on.
the CIA, and I'll get the document when we go over this. I'm writing up a good little special about this one. But the CIA, they said magic's real, everyone. They said magic's real, and not only is it real, we can all do it. Every single one of us. You just gotta try hard enough. So we'll have an episode on that coming. But I mean,
Cats and
I
dogs
believe
living
that
together.
because I believe dreams. And I'm not just saying like any dream, your every night dream. Like when they wake you up out of a dead sleep and you just know they feel real. I don't know if everybody's had that. I know I've had it.
I've had some
Multiple
night
times.
terrors like that.
You guys ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's do
Absolutely.
it.
Moving
Number
here.
6. Go for it, Chance.
All right. We've got the vanishing 1940 car. Originally shared in a 1988 magazine art. Story follows 2 men who, on an early afternoon in Louisiana during 1969, encountered a vehicle from the past. While driving on a highway, the duo glimpsed an older vehicle. Upon drawing closer, they saw the slow-moving car's license plate, which had the year 1940 on it. Inside, they saw a woman in 40s attire and a child who appeared scared and confused. After gesturing for her to pull over to see if she needed help, the two were astonished to see that the car had vanished. Another driver who witnessed the event also supported their claim. Whether it's true or not, we'll never know.
If you go to YouTube right now and you put in vanishing car, not only is there this story, there's 50 other stories and video proof of cars vanishing.
I feel like this is just an elaborate ruse
Are
for
most
you to
of-
hit us with that ghost car jump scare from like 2001, dude, okay?
Do these vanishing cars happen to be in East St. Louis?
Although my best friend's mom's car just got stolen in East St. Louis.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that, but
Yeah. Yeah, no joke. That happened like a couple months ago.
Lock your cars, kids.
Numero 5?
Yeah, let's go to number 5. We're good. We're good.
All right, we have the Moberly Jourdain incident. In 1901, 2 British teachers, Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, were visiting the Palace of Versailles when they allegedly had the most unusual experience. While exploring the Petit Trianon, a small chateau on the grounds, the duo reportedly began seeing people in clothing from the 1700s, as well as buildings that hadn't existed since the same time period. One of the women claims to have seen Marie Antoinette in person sketching on the grass. They published a book about their experiences in 1911 titled An Adventure. Skeptics have argued that they suffered a shared delusion or witnessed a fancy dress party. Regardless, their story is still enjoyed today.
What do you
I've
think of
never
that?
heard this one.
That's interesting, neither have I.
I did a little research on it. There was a little bit on it, not too much. I don't know. They had some pictures of the grounds of the property.
Not enough substance to really build a.
Okay, so
No.
I'm going to tell you something I think right now, because this one and last one share some common threads. And I'll tell you what, time travel stories tend to have a lot of substance. There's some kind of photos, there's some kind of something going along with the words to
That's
back it up.
true.
But you know what doesn't? Ghost stories. You know what both this one and the last one sounded like? Were ghost stories.
Yep, they
That is
really do.
true.
That it's
Ghost
almost like they
cars,
were
ghost-
seeing a ghost and that it wasn't. Is time travel? Are ghosts time traveling out here?
I
Is
guess
that-
so.
I mean, it was only like, what, the 1940s where those pictures showed up of, and video of the people talking on cell phones or looking like they're talking on cell
the guy in the
phones.
hoodie with the
There's a woman
goggles,
that,
man.
no joke, she comes around the corner, looks like she's talking, looks like the phone closes, and it's all caught on video. We watched it the other day. Gavin was like, that could be anything next to her face. And I'm like, no, it's a cell phone. I don't know.
Oh my God! The old, it's like the babushka lady. She's wearing like the
Yeah.
Russian headdress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know which video you're talking about. Oh my God!
You're like walking out of a factory or something,
Yeah.
and she's
It's
got
so
what
a
looks
cell
like a
phone.
cell phone
It
and puts
is.
it away.
I'm
It's
telling
so a
you,
cell
it's a cell
phone. It's
phone.
cell
But then
phone.
he's like, well, how would it work back then? Because there wouldn't have been cell towers and this and that.
Satellites. Wait.
I don't know, man.
Maybe she time traveled with a satellite. Maybe
Or
the
she-
satellite was maybe
It'd make more sense if it was a radio.
maybe it's a time phone.
Radios existed
Time
at that
phone.
point.
Time phone. If time
Something-
travel exists, why wouldn't time phone exist?
Time phones will exist before human time travel exists.
Yes, and I can't
I
wait.
contend this all the
Steins
time.
Gate, everyone.
Yeah, we'll be able to send information through time, through like quantum tunneling or something like that, before we're able to send people through time.
Do you think
So-
we're going to be able to send information back to before the method to send information back was invented?
No, I believe
Is it
that.
because we won't be able to read the information? Can we still send it and it just won't be detectable?
No, I will build a time machine, and now it will be able to receive from any point in the future that time machine exists.
What if we are able to, like, through spooky action at a distance, through
Yep.
quantum entanglement, but what if we're able to
Go
find a
through
way
time?
to change, like, say, the outcome of a computer program to display a certain text message or something like that, instead of directly communicating with the device that we're communicating with, we are affecting the quantum entangled particles that will directly change the like electrical impulses at a level affecting like the silicon level of the chips essentially.
What are you getting at?
What I'm getting at is I think we would be able to send information before the machine was invented. I think it would just be very, very difficult, and we'd have to do a lot more work than just inventing
What
the
you would
machine.
be sending it to, though. The
There's
machine
some-
didn't exist yet.
There are some really, really interesting cases. I don't
believe this.
there-
I think
there was
I think-
a case in Britain where a gentleman was talking to a guy in the 1400s.
What if there's a person sent
talking
back
about
to
the-
all time periods and that's how they have somebody from the future there to interpret the
Think about the guy who was,
things
like,
that we're
talking on his
Time
sending?
cops. We got time cops now. The day time travel's invented is the day that the time cops show up and confiscate that time machine as illegal contraband.
All right, we're going off the charts.
No,
Let's
I mean,
go.
I like
Let's
it.
go to number 4.
When you talk about the case where the guy was talking on like his ZX Spectrum or his Commodore 64 with like a ghost.
exactly that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say ZX Spectrum because I think it was like
it was
in
old.
Britain.
It was old.
It was an old like 8-bit computer or something, and they were like leaving it out and then getting messages.
That is exactly the one I'm talking about. Yeah. I'll get a little segment on that one made out because I think that one actually has some interesting stuff though. I'll put that on my log.
I think you build a time machine, and I think the first time machines will be to send information just like computers are, and through some sort of quantum entanglement, they have produced wormholes inside of quantum supercomputers. We'll be able to spooky action at a distance, like you were saying, information, through time
To another of the same machine, but hear me out.
to another of the same machine.
Here's what I'm thinking.
No. Stop. Not to another of the same machine.
To another of...
To that machine in another timeline. To that machine in the past.
But only to that machine.
Maybe. It depends on how you can network them.
Here's what I'm saying, right?
But only to a machine like it that's capable of receiving it.
Okay.
How are you going to send information
Hear me out.
back in time when you don't have anything to receive it?
Hear me out. I can take a computer and I can send you a message on Signal right now, right? And you'll get that message. And if you are not another computer, you will not see that message. However, I can also take this computer, hook it up to a CNC machine, and carve out a block of text in a physical material that says the exact same methods. There's other ways for a singular machine to interact physically with the world. It could be possible that through affecting the physical world through quantum entanglement in some other means than directly interacting with that machine, we might be able to...
You're going to find a way to inject code?
Yeah, in a way, I guess. Something like that. Like
a buffer overflow attack?
No,
you still have to have a way into the computer.
No, not necessarily that. It's imagine you, and this is talking way out there, way super tech science fiction, almost like godlike levels of science fiction. But imagine you figured out quantum entanglement to such a degree that you would be able to pinpoint a particle in space in your current time and say, this particle right here is exactly quantumly entangled to this specific electron in a silicone chip inside of a computer that is programming the logic gate when they press K for it to actually say K, and instead it changes it to a different letter, right? You could theoretically have someone typing out a message on their computer, but everything they type is nonsense, and it's what you want it to say.
Like, what if you could maybe you could quantumly entangle matter inside of a computer into itself in the past somehow?
Exactly. Like a sufficiently advanced enough technology in terms of quantum entanglement theoretically would be able to pick out every individual particle and reference every individual particle in the past and what it was entangled to in the past. You know what I'm saying?
I think what we have here is a failure to understand quantum entanglement, because you and I are just going back and forth on it like we know what we're talking about.
We are not quantum physicists, just by the way.
Believe it or not,
we are
we're
charlatans. Absolute, total charlatans.
All right, shall we go to number 4?
Yeah, I guess so. No, I'm gonna fight Chance over this.
I mean, this
I'm
could go on
Chance
all night.
I think I don't know, man. That's so far out there. Maybe way in the future
That's
you'll
what
be
I'm
able to do
saying.
that.
Yeah.
But at that point, you won't have a need to or want to.
And that's why it hasn't happened.
Okay. Sure, that's why it hasn't happened.
Yeah, they're waiting until we're like a little more advanced before they hit us up.
No, dude. If it's possible to transmit information back and forward in time, it's obviously possible to transmit it forward in time. To transmit it back in time, if I want to send myself the winning lotto numbers, I'm going to need a machine that I built, and then tomorrow I'm going to have to send that message back to the machine I built today.
So you're telling me that timelines can branch infinitely only after the point that a machine that can talk to itself in the past is invented?
No, they already branch infinitely.
So you're telling me they're going to double infinity? How do you double infinity? That is a delusion dreamed up by a madman.
This is a problem with the entire temporal prime directive. It's a problem.
Beam me up, Scotty. I'm done.
No, it's not even beam me up. It's like transport me into the future, Scotty. That's when Star Trek died, is when they started doing a bunch of time travel. This time travel and temporal nonsense is sticky. Number 4.
The Torrid Man. I really like the Torrid Man. This one's actually super interesting.
Yeah, this is a really good one.
Going through customs can be troublesome for any traveler abroad. But one man visiting Japan in 1954 had more difficulty than most. Arriving in Haneda Airport in Tokyo, this unknown man was detained because his country didn't exist. The man purported to be from a European country between Spain and France, which in our time is the microstate Andorra. But the man insisted that his country, Torred, had occupied the same location. Perhaps even more mysterious is the fact that he vanished from the hotel room he was given to stay in, despite guards posted outside the door. Even his Torred passport was gone. Maybe he returned to whatever time or parallel world he came from. Now, this one has a lot. They didn't just like ask this man like where you're from. Like they took this man and interviewed him for hours. That hotel room, that wasn't like a here's a free hotel room for you. It's like you are being detained.
Yes.
I
have nothing negative to say about this. It's very compelling.
How did he get out? He was under surveillance.
Yeah.
Like legitimate surveillance. That, you know,
There's
because
a
I
couple
can
other stories like that too, though.
But this one's very well documented. Now, you could make the argument this guy was a charlatan, to use the word again, and he just had some fake country and he escaped out the bathroom window or something. But if he did, like, wow. It's a wild story. And honestly, out of all these so far, this is the one I think we should deep dive into a little bit further.
I'm gonna be real with you. I think this and Tighter are on the same exact level of credibility, brother.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
110.
I think the Tighter story, it lends itself to... There's too many pathways to, like, people who have rights to the name and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they all showed up afterwards. They're just people trying to stake a claim onto something and make a quick buck and get rich and get out, you know?
Yeah.
He didn't... When he was around, when that story was running, there wasn't any... Oh, God, this is getting back to topic 10 on number 4, so I'll leave it at this. But he didn't run... There was no campaign to make money off the Tighter name back when it was around.
No, there...
And
Well, as far as we know.
And, you know, it's just like this, the Torad. There's no... Stuff
But I
like
think
this...
Ong's Hat, the guy who did Ong's Hat, didn't really have a clear motivation either, and that was a confirmed hoax.
Maybe some people are in it for just the attention and not the money, but then you have cases like this where it's like even the attention is anonymous.
Right, he disappeared. There's
So-
not much else to the story.
You know, maybe he's just a criminal running away with a fake passport that had a typo or 5 on it, but
Microphone. I'm trying to tell you to speak in your microphone.
oh, I'm sorry.
Talking to the
I'm trying to talk to the audience. The live studio
That's our secret
audience.
sign for this
Hello,
is a
live
con.
studio audience. Welcome to the studio that you're live in right now. That's who I'm looking at, right, Gavin? The live studio.
The live studio audience, yeah. We
Need
just
a
need a
fake
laugh
laughter.
track. Yeah. We've got, I mean, Marley and George. They seem enthused.
Yes, they seem very entertained.
The one time George isn't moving 1,000 miles an hour.
All right.
So that's the Torred man. And you know, I think that might be worthy of a deep dive segment.
say
Keep
we
an
go-
eye out for that on the channel or on the show.
I say we go deeper into it at some
Yeah, we
point.
should get more into that.
So we now have number 3. In the top 3, we are at the bronze medal of time travel stories right now for everyone. We've got, in 1932, a German reporter, J. Bernard Hutton, and photographer, is that Joachim? Joachim? Brandt were assigned a story on the Hamburg shipyard. Once there, however, the two men panicked when bombs began falling around them. After snapping a few pictures, they left in a hurry. Okay, hold on real quick. It's like, you see that in real life. Like, this isn't real life, but you see that in like modern day life too, where something horrific is going on and people's
like, "Hold
first
on, here's my
instinct is
phone."
like, take a picture. So I'm glad to see that that's just a pervasive human thing and not a modern thing. No one at the paper believed their story, and their photographs showed nothing out of the ordinary. 11 years later, in 1943, Hutton was shocked when he read a story in an English paper about an Allied air raid on Hamburg, with pictures showing him scenery he was very familiar with. Did Hutton and Brandt leap forward in time somehow? Man, this is... You know, there are, and I think, I subscribe to this theory, there are places where the world just breaks down, where reality is not quite as real as it purports itself to be. And this sounds like an episode of that, where you're somewhere and things just get a little funky, a little out there, a little what is happening. And there's all kinds of, I don't know if glitch in the matrix is the right way to describe it, but a ton of stories
No
out
weird
there.
butterfly effect or
Yeah, that are
something.
really, really similar in nature.
Places
I
of
don't know,
high
I looked
weirdness.
up these people.
Uh-huh.
One of them was military. I don't quite. I didn't get a lot into this story particularly, but
They don't have the typical
know.
morphology for lying. You know what I
Right,
mean?
like, what
Their
would be
lives
the
aren't
purpose?
set up to. They're gonna ruin their careers if they come out with this and it's fake. Why would they do that?
right.
You know.
And one guy, I mean, he went on for years as a photographer. He stuck with the story. All the stories sounded the same. I don't know. Let us know what you think.
Number 2.
Oh, the hipster.
The South Fork Bridge hipster. This
The
is who I was
hipster.
referencing
Yes.
earlier with the goggles. Yeah. This one, let me read it first. In 1940, a mysterious man was photographed in Canada, wearing what seems to be modern clothing and carrying a camera. Its authenticity was proven by NTV in Russia in 2010. Is this man with incredibly modern style or evidence of time travel?
What do they mean it was proven by NTV in Russia? I'd have to see what they did to prove it.
I imagine they looked at I don't know, but if I had to take a guess, I imagine they looked at typical photo doctoring techniques of the like for film photos and things like that. I do remember reading somewhere that the credulity of this photo was verified by a third party at some point. I don't remember what all it said, but this one is interesting. What gets me the most is not the goggles. What gets me the most is not the hoodie. What gets me the most is not the camera. Expensive advanced mechanical cameras were around. Fleece hoodies, fleece overcoats, fleece blouses were things. Those kinds of goggles, those almost look like welder specs of a sort. What really gets me about this photo, what makes me think this photo has some actual veracity to it, is the fact the man's he's wearing a graphic tee in the 40s, man.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, if you look carefully, he's wearing a darkdial.com t-shirt.
And can you just believe it? I mean, to know that we're so big in the 40s that time travelers are wearing us around, like...
What can I say, man?
Because of that thing you said about the quantum entanglement.
They know, they figured it out. They were like,
We figured it
"Oh my
out.
God,
Clearly, we figured it
you-
out.
He's so right.
We transmitted back darkdial.com t-shirt designs.
To the one federal agent that's watching and making sure we don't spill too many secrets, you're welcome for that one.
Yep.
I don't know, between this one and the cell phone video that they have.
The cell phone video is very...
It's
they
so
feel,
convincing.
I put these on the same level, 110%. They are very, very convincing.
So Marty said in chat, and I tend to agree with him here, it was a woman's compact. She's checking her makeup.
Yeah, but who talks into
But
their
she did have
compact
it
in
on,
their
like,
ear?
the side of her head, yeah.
Hello, I'm looking at the side of my face.
My thing is, like, that's a cute idea, but how is the cell phone going to work unless it's a quantum entangled cell phone like we were talking about? You're talking about... It had to have been a radio.
Any
or something.
sufficiently advanced technology
Yes,
appears...
indistinguishable from magic, yada yada.
I'm gonna die by that quote, Gavin.
Well, you gotta break a couple omelets to make an egg.
And don't tell me that you don't know that the CIA's favorite disguise is Babushka Lady. Think about the JFK.
Don't go there with me.
The Babushka
Don't go there
Lady's
with
there
JFK
too.
for me.
The Babushka
So is
Lady's
the Umbrella
everywhere.
Man, but I have an explanation for Umbrella Man.
It was raining.
No, it was sunny.
No, it was raining the whole time.
No, it was a sunny day in
That's
Dallas.
a Mandela effect.
There was a man.
You're a different universe, Gavin.
Okay, can we get a drum roll? Because we're gonna finish. Thank you. That's very loud
Home.
in the microphone. We just
Oh, yeah.
blew out
And
Alright.
coming
everyone's-
in at number
everyone's ears.
1, Victor Goddard's flight. In 1941, the South Fork Bridge in British Columbia, Canada, reopened, and someone snapped a photo. Contained within the crowd of pedestrians is a possible anomaly. A man wearing sunglasses with what looks like a logo t-shirt under his sweater. Oh, you know what? This is the last one.
Yeah.
This is the description for the last one. Something is amiss.
Oh,
It got switched. I don't know what happened.
Well, we
PowerPoint
can-
time traveled.
Look,
Somebody
this just
traveled
means
in
that
time and messed
we
it up.
get to make Victor Goddard's flight, and whatever we say about it becomes what happened in the past. So Victor Goddard was a legendary pilot. He was a man that flew over 850 missions in a day. Twice.
Amazing.
That's what I'm saying. He fought several krakens. He airlifted 36 Bigfoot out of the Sahara Desert when they were fighting the Scorpion Men. It really, really was a turning pivotal point in that war. And we can't underplay his achievements in the Emu War of Australia. He really helped those birds bring those Australians down, I tell you what. And that's Victor Goddard for you.
Wait, so our number one is just a big bust, huh?
Unfortunately, the gold medal goes to a man with no history.
I'm kind of confused. This wording doesn't even work.
It's for the last one.
Contained with a Oh,
It's for number 2. That's words for number 2.
that would explain my various quantum entanglement confusions.
Maybe we were just quantumly entangled.
Hey, we
with
cite
number
our
2
sources
the
here
whole
at
time.
Dark Dial. Here's some of the sources that we used for this. And if you want to know more, like some of these videos, we didn't really watch any UFO videos today, but a lot of this information we're going to cite on darkdial.com. We do an episode breakdown of sources that we use in every episode so that you can verify and read yourself more about these stories if you're more interested. So darkdial.com, it's in the announcement
find out
section.
the truth of number 1.
Yeah, we'll have an errata for number 1 next Friday. I promise. Don't worry. You'll all learn about Victor Goddard and his kraken slaying endeavors.
Well,
I just can't. Oh man.
stick with us. We're professionals. We'll get you where you need to go. Don't worry about it. Get on the plane. Just get on the plane.
There are 10 of them just to fail him at number 1.
Number 1.
We
That
just
we
wanna
blew
keep you
everyone's
hanging.
ears out for a drum roll too.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm sorry, y'all. My
No,
bad.
no worries. It's
But we are going to put the sources up, like I said, on
Sure enough.
darkdial.com.
Check out the show archives.
Yes, thank you. That's the term I'm looking for. Chance does an excellent job of curating the various places we find some of this
I
information.
try, and please do inform me if you do check out the show archives and I happen to be missing a video, a photo, a link, or a document from any of our episodes. Let me know.
Yeah.
I will do my best to track it down and make sure we get that on there, because my file organization might be a little hectic right now.
Yeah, we're doing a lot. We're doing a lot. So that was our time travel thing. I really think that one case,
The Torred Man.
Torred Man. Thank you. We need to do the Torred Man. That's by far
I
to me
think
the most
so.
compelling. John Teeter's an amazing story. I like the story
It is
more,
such a good story.
but I don't think it's as credible as the Torred Man.
I don't know.
Are we able to show the phone one so that Marty can see that
Babushka
it
lady.
is not a makeup thing?
Babushka lady.
Did you send me a link for it?
No, I think it's just YouTube time travel phone lady.
Thanks.
Type in Babushka lady on phone.
They just take me for granted. They're just look this up. Just find
just, you
time
know,
travel lady on
find it.
YouTube.
You know how to do it.
Type in how to be Babushka.
I can do it. I can do it.
You can be the Babushka. We all want to be a
All
Russian.
right, come on, y'all. Watch this and make. It's a phone.
Okay, so here's this 1938 film. What is this woman right here doing? I think she's... I don't know what I think she's doing. I think she's posing for a picture with a compact. She sees the camera, and she's like, oh,
But she's
look.
not looking at the
Yeah,
camera.
no, she
she's
absolutely
looking
is looking at the
She's looking
camera.
past the camera.
Yeah, I don't think she's looking
She's
at it at all.
posing, man. She's just posing.
Hold
Watch.
on.
Watch.
But she walks around the corner
Hi,
with
she
it
got a big
already
smile.
there.
Yeah, but they know they're being filmed. They must know. Every one of
Yeah,
them
I
knows
know,
they're
and
being
that's
filmed.
why she slips it down, because she's a Fed. She doesn't want to
Uh-oh.
get caught.
I don't know what just happened.
She's like, oh god, they're gonna have video evidence of me in 1938 with a cell phone. I need to stop. Oh god, oh god.
You
See?
need to turn autoplay
That's what's
off on
happening
this.
right there. That's fear. That's the primate fear response. She's showing her teeth because she's afraid.
Primate fear response. No, she's not afraid. Look at her. It's not a canine. She's showing her teeth. Like she's a wolf. I'm with Marty and Chad on this.
Nope,
That's a cell phone, man.
it's a phone.
She's a Fed. Look at
she's
the lady
holding-
in front of her. That's her handler. That's Olga.
That does look like an Olga.
Oh my god, yes. That was good.
She turns around. No, you must not time travel now.
Put your phone down.
Radio, if anything. If it's a communication device, it's a radio.
Radios weren't invented until 2036.
Well, what year was this? 2038? That's 2 years after, bro. Wait, 2036, you said? 19...
Oh god. Oh,
It's,
it's a phone.
it's something.
Ooh. I do like Charlie Chaplin though. The Great Dictator, I think, is the movie. Really good speech in that movie. If anyone's ever seen that,
Well, I think we're going to take some calls, right?
I believe so. It is called.
Do we want to get Jay on the line?
I will
G-Man
do what I
Jay?
can to get in touch. If moment to step away from the table.
Yeah, go for it. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and open up the lines. So if you've never watched this before, we are a call-in show. At least at the end of the show, we try to be. So, we're going to officially start taking some calls here. If you want to call us, there's a lot of ways to communicate with us. Not that I'm any good at communication, apparently. Comment on a video. We're going to read it. darkdial.com. Participate there. We're trying to get some research groups in there on stuff like the McKinley and Bembe, stuff like the Torrid Man. And we're also going to go ahead and open up some calls. So
I did.
another way to communicate.
I did
Probably-
send our spooky contact a message.
G-Man?
Absolutely. If he does not respond, he did give us permission to use his secret satellite phone line to get in touch with him. So
Okay.
that'd be something we can do.
Well, I got lines open right now. He didn't get back to you at the break, did he?
No, he did not, unfortunately.
Uh,
It is very late where he is at. I believe he is deployed somewhere in
Indonesia?
Malaysia on a secret
Oh, it
mission
was
right
Malaysia.
now. Yeah.
Gotcha. If you want to, do you want to step off and call him and just tell him to call in?
I can do that.
Because I don't want to just call him from our line and have him just be completely spooked. Those G-men types, they're easily spooked. You know what I mean?
We
And I think you do. Anyway, yeah, so I mean, like, calling us is kind of the most personal way to get in touch with us. So I can understand, like, as a viewer, why you might not want to call in immediately. Maybe scope out the forums a little while, make a couple comments on YouTube videos, and you work your way up to calling in and talking to us. But we are here. We've got the lines open. And by lines, I mean line. There's one line. We just kind of take calls as we go. So, but hopefully we'll have our special guest here. I honestly don't know what G-Man has to say, but he said he had something for us. He doesn't really talk in chat because he's kind of into that whole cloak and dagger thing. So that's always a difficult one to put your finger on. You're on Rumble watching. We love you.
We love Rumble.
Yeah, we do love Rumble. We want to gear more and more towards Rumble as time goes on, hopefully, because we can probably cover some spicier topics on there, mainly modern conspiracy theories. Might be a little controversial on the YouTubes. But we're always glad. I mean, really, the YouTube's the channel we're trying to grow right now, so we're always glad to be talking to people on YouTube as well. By all means, we are not turning our back on YouTube. Although Twitch is kind of funny. Nobody ever watches this on Twitch.
Nah.
I don't know. We never get, like, anybody. It's weird because there's so much garbage on Twitch. We might not be the best thing out there, but we have to be better than, like, 90% of that garbage on Twitch. I mean, I get it if you're going there to watch, like, game streams and stuff, but hot tubs, really, you're better than that.
Bad news.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Our contact's busy.
He has been captured by a rebel militant group in Malaysia. He has informed me through smoke signals that he will be escaped and ready to fill us in on some information next week.
Oh, okay. Well, that's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. However, I do believe he's doing some good for us.
But that's what I'm saying. You know, these G-men types, they can be a little flighty. Especially to talk to people like us. I'm sure he has some superiors that he has to keep happy.
I'm sure they don't like us.
Probably not. Anyway, so if you were waiting for G-Man J, I'm sorry, we'll have him next week. In the meantime, give us a call. It's 857-323-3425. That's 857-32-D-DIAL.
Dial.
Call, talk to us about conspiracies, give us a ring. You can,
Chat with us in the comments.
you
You don't want to call.
can talk to us about dogs.
Talk to me about Made in Abyss. No one else will watch it.
Steins Gate.
Steins Gate, bro. Okay, the Steins Gate. Back to John Teeter. Steins Gate legitimately lays that story out in one of the most concise ways I've ever seen in my life. It is how I learned every detail of that story. I mean, there's a couple of things that are romanticized, and I've obviously gone back and looked up the actual story to see what is paralleled and what's dramatized for the show. But I swear to God, they
So
run
Steins Gate's an
through-
anime.
Yeah.
You gotta back up for people who don't know what we're talking about.
So it's an anime about a mad scientist who lives in a small apartment and accidentally invents time travel and the wacky world-ending shenanigans that happen because of it. But John Titor plays a huge role. Like, he's a pivotal character in the show.
Like, he's a named character in the show?
Yes.
Oh, really?
And that computer they're looking for is a named computer, and it's like a pivotal plot point. The dramatized stuff, CERN gets involved at some point, and they're like the big bad. At some point, but like it's a legitimate recap of pretty much every event that goes down in that story.
Computer was an IBM 5100. That's the computer. IBM 5100. Talk about a tiny screen.
Runs
huh?
off tape.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah,
I really
I mean-
like that, actually. I like tape media, man. Tape media.
See, I don't know how many machines actually use that code anymore, though. You know? I understand that it's still built into Linux.
Yeah.
But how many machines are actually, like, 32-bit dependent Linux machines still? Probably a lot. I mean, 32-bit architecture is still prevalent, but...
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it is, but it isn't. I get... Hold on.
Don't do it.
I did it. I get confused. Thank you. When an installation for a program asks me if I have a 32-bit or a 64-bit installation of Windows, because I really, in terms of modern computing, I haven't seen a 32-bit system in a long time. But I imagine it's a brownfield thing, like I was talking about earlier.
I mean, you could
where
look
see it in
behind
industry.
you. There's 32-bit systems behind you. They're just. I haven't had an actual like modern computer that I've used since probably 2004. That was a 32-bit system. Because AMD laid out the 64-bit architecture right around, I want to say 04-ish.
Do you think we're gonna get a 128-bit?
No, I think they're gonna keep throwing cores on.
Is there some point where we hit where the cores are just where diminishing returns takes effect and we're not getting any achievement from throwing more cores, or are we so far away from that it doesn't matter?
Well, they do get quantum tunneling on the small traces on CPUs, I think, currently, and there's some error detection that has to go through to fix that.
That's interesting.
The closer and closer the traces get inside a CPU, the more likely you are to have electrons like almost exist in superposition between two traces.
Oh.
So that's why you can only make them so small. And the solution to that has been essentially right now to just throw more cores on it, which effectively you're just making the CPU or the computer bigger. You probably don't feel that on your computer because so many of the other components have been shrunk down. But what's the law?
Moore's law.
Moore's law, thank you. Which basically states that, yeah, you are going to get a diminishing return. Like, it's the exponential growth of processing power has to level out due to the physics involved inside of a processor. But not if you just keep making the processor bigger.
There ain't no replacement for displacement.
Well, as much excitement there is about quantum computers, I really think biological computers are eventually bound to be a thing.
We merge quantum computing, biologic computing, and AI together. I'm terrified of what might happen. That sounds like a recipe for something that can manipulate reality at will.
Marlon, calm down, bud.
I mean, we might have that already. Somebody's got that.
Is that why the Mandela effect's a thing?
No, the Mandela effect's a thing because the human memory is fallible.
The human memory's not fallible. What do you mean? I remember everything.
Uh-huh.
Ask me what I had for breakfast.
What do you have for breakfast?
Food.
Oh, that's good. Give us a ring. 85732D dial. Talk to us about your paranormal experiences. Ever seen a ghost? Ever seen a UFO? Ever seen a Bigfoot? Ever seen a Makili Mbembe? Ever seen an orang pendek? We want to talk to you.
Have you ever seen Crackhead Larry? He's pretty spooky too.
Don't bring
Aliens,
Crackhead
time
Larry
travelers.
back into this.
But I like Crackhead Larry, man.
With his doodly bobbers?
He's jealous because Crackhead Larry gets to live a full crackhead life outside of a CRT television.
It's true. Let me out.
The computer's aesthetic, man.
It's a cool computer.
I like the switches. I like old toggle switches. It all looks like Russian Soviet missile tech, man, and that's what I like about it. Looks like I'm gonna see this in the decommissioned missile silo that I buy in Nevada for 300 grand. There's gonna be like 15 of these stacked on top of each other with two big red buttons right next to them on either side, but they're just far enough apart that you can't press them with your own arms.
Can we broadcast from the missile silo?
Yeah, of course.
That makes sense.
I'll
Okay,
put a
cool.
big antenna on top. Now the question is, can we build a missile in the missile silo?
I don't think that would be legal.
Is it illegal?
Is it constitutional? Probably. It should probably amend the
As
constitution to say
long
you
as
can't
the
own nuclear
warhead
weapons.
and the missile were kept separate, theoretically, you are not breaking the ATF's any other weapons clause.
This
or
isn't like
destructive
transporting a
devices
magazine
clause.
separate from the rest of the gun.
No, but I mean, literally, it is though. Like under the jurisdiction of their weapon, because it's a super caliber round, right? So anything subcaliber is 50 cal and below, and those are considered firearms. Super caliber rounds are considered destructive devices that you can't own. Period. Like at all. There's a few that fall under class 3 exceptions, like grenades and things like that, but that's different. But if you were to take the rocket, because it is wholeheartedly and completely legal for an American citizen to build a rocket, and you were to take a plutonium and beryllium sphere that were to be, say, packed in tannerite, since you can't buy C4, but binary explosives are fine, you could then keep those two objects separate. And as long as you don't put it in, you don't have a nuke.
Okay. Well, we're going to get a call from the ATF in a moment. If you're out there and you work for the ATF, give us a ring. 857-323-3425. That's 857-32-D-dial. As in dark
It's like
dial.
the trolley problem, but for large weapons.
Hey, we're getting a ring. See what's going on. You guys hear it?
I can't.
Call from
Marty.
Oh, Marty.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Well, Marty, welcome to Dark Dial. It's good to hear from you again.
This is Marty from the ATF.
You know, that doesn't surprise me.
Knock on your front door right now.
Okay.
You are being swatted.
Oh,
I knew that was coming.
exciting. That's exciting. Our first swatting. I knew it was going to come, guys. I knew it was on the way.
Oh my god.
Yes, my brain has been quantumly entangled.
With the version of you that's actually in the ATF.
Yeah.
Or are you actually in the ATF?
Dun dun dun.
I'll never tell.
Oh no.
Man,
So,
I have to figure out how to do I'm going to have to turn you guys off on the show.
Absolutely. If you wouldn't mind muting us, it would help the carryover from your microphone through to the show. It stops any echo coming through.
Yeah, now I can't hear anybody but you.
That's okay. You'll be able to. No one else but me is talking at the moment.
Well, anyhow, I wanted to talk about the paper mache aliens down in Mexico.
Yeah, so you think they're paper mache, huh?
My wife said that they're piñatas. She saw them in a store down in Nogales.
You know, I was saying we should take a day trip. We should take a Dark Dial day trip down and beat the candy out of them. I'd be down.
Let's do it.
That's exactly right. And see if those are what kind of implants they are.
No doubt. So, do you think it's a distraction? Possibly. It obviously seems you think it might be a fabrication at the very least.
You know, they look amazingly. They look amazingly like ET. A distraction, in a way, I think, but it's kind of the wrong country. But and I don't want to get political, but that came out at the same time as the Hunter Biden indictments came out. So as a distraction, that would be my only thought of distraction, but that seems kind of hard to believe because it's down in Mexico.
Yeah, the implication there would that we somehow funded that gentleman to present that in front of the Congress to create a hullabaloo.
Yeah, well, just to create a diversion and get the attention off of the indictments.
I see.
And who knows, there's all kinds of black ops stuff going down there in Mexico we just don't know about.
Well, how do you rectify that coinciding with the American UAP hearings and the findings they're coming out? I know Gavin was saying earlier that it might just be one man presenting those and trying to strive for attention in the limelight for a few moments while all of this is going on. He saw it as a good opportunity. Do you think it might be the case that that's what's happening there?
Well, it could be trying to make Mexico look bigger than what they actually are.
So it's
their Congress.
It's a matter of purely political motivations more than it is one of cosmic motivations.
Like it's like a national
cosmic in there. What did he say?
Like it's kind of like a. I'm trying to think of the word. They're just trying to stand up, make it look like it's America. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's lend themselves a legitimacy.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I'm not so sure how real they actually are. Those X-rays. I mean, they really don't mean anything. I saw a show the other night that had George Tsoukalos on, and they were talking about it. And he said he's known about those bodies since 2018.
Yeah.
And supposedly the crash happened in 2016, and there were more bodies. Where they are, nobody knows. But until those are exposed to the world and allowed to be done in public, unlike the alien autopsy they did.
Are you talking about the one in '96? That video?
Yeah.
From '96.
The alien autopsy from Roswell.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're real. I think they're kind of a Bigfoot type hoax that, you know, they had the one Bigfoot in a box that they said was a Bigfoot, and come to find out it was a hoax also. But I think
I remember that one. I remember that one. I find that an interesting and compelling theory. There's quite a few people who subscribe to that as well. I go back, however, to counterpoint that with the implants inside of the alien being made of cadmium and osmium and metals that aren't necessarily the easiest to come by and form into implants like that.
And who said that's what they were made out of?
Valid. I am under the assumption here, unfortunately, that it was
Don't make an ass out of me.
Only myself, huh?
Got that alien autopsy video somewhere. I'm gonna find it one of these days.
Oh man.
Yes, I try not to assume anything, but if you believe what they say, more power to you.
Hey, sometimes you have to make educated inferences.
Inference is different.
Yeah, an inference is.
Yeah.
Well, an inference implies that there's information already known. You're using context to pull more information out, whereas a guess implies that you are grasping at thin air. And I'd say that I'm making an inference here over a guess.
Okay, well, anyhow, I will wait until, like George Tsoukalos says, they put it out to the world and let all of the experts gather around and show it in public and do an autopsy and open them up. I mean, who cares? They're mummies.
But what if they're the only preserved specimens that we have?
There's scientific ways to do that.
We can cut one open and leave the other.
But what if when we cut one open, the other one wakes up and it gets really pissed off and we've got a problem on our hands?
That would be too cool.
It would be pretty cool. I'd have to agree with you there.
That would be too cool.
Now then I'd call an emergency episode.
Yeah. But no, that was very interesting when I saw it. It's just kind of, being in Mexico and the third world, it just kind of definitely makes you more skeptical.
No, I understand
And
where
my
you're
wife still
coming
thinks
from.
they're pinatas. And my
It's
wife still thinks they're pinatas.
They could be pinatas. It is a very
they
large
look like
possibility.
They look like it.
Yeah.
Very large possibility.
Now that lady that was on the phone, what year was that?
1938.
32, I think. Yeah.
She was, whoever was talking to her was making her very happy.
I agree.
I think you're right.
It was Jake from State Farm.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
She was getting an impressive deal on her auto insurance.
No, he wanted to know what she was wearing.
Right.
You
That
might be
shirt
too
and
young
khakis.
to know the original
Khakis.
Jake from State Farm.
Oh man, that's fun. No, that one there's that video is interesting. There is I am absolutely of the mind that that woman is a time traveler. There is no reason I can think of that she would be holding anything other than a phone up to her face like that.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, the only other thing would be a small radio, as like Gavin said, and she could have been listening. But I don't know. You said they weren't made until.
Oh, that I was making a joke. That was not a true statement.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know when. I didn't look that up. I didn't Google it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. The date that I said was 2036, which is several years in the future.
Yes, I know. And Gavin, it took him a minute to catch it. But that's okay. I understood. It's Friday night. You guys are probably tired.
Oh, yes. A long week.
So this says handheld two-way radios were developed by the military from backpack radios carried by a soldier in an infantry squad to keep the squad in contact with their contacts. Probably the first patent filed on the 20th of May, 1935.
So 3 years before, however, they were backpack style, very, very large. Am I wrong with that, or is that right?
Yeah, they were pretty sizable.
So they didn't have anything
Like
that
a flip phone.
compact 3 years before. Do we have anything on when the first compact was? What year is that?
Oh, I don't know about that.
So this is what we're looking at in terms of radios and the era that that video was taken in. So definitely, I don't think we're going to be seeing anything. I don't know if you still have the stream pulled up, Marty, but we've got a picture here. And I don't know if we're going to be seeing anything that small in
This
the
from 1940.
1940. Yeah, I don't. It looks like they're 4 or 5, maybe even 6 times the size. One in 1940s larger than a gentleman's head. So I'd have to imagine a few years before that, we're looking at even bigger analog tech packed in those boxes.
Yeah, well, I was reading that.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit. If you want to repeat that last sentence you ran by me, I'm sorry.
I was trying to look at the thing, but I was turning it up and it kind of messed up the phone. But anyhow, no, I was just reading that most households had them in the 30s, but they were not handheld. And that would be the closest thing I would think of would be a handheld radio. But so that's not what it is. It could be a time traveling phone.
I think it is.
I think so.
I think the lady walking in front of her was her time handler.
I think you were right when you said compact.
No.
Like a compact.
Well,
who puts their makeup mirror up to their face like this and rubs all the powder on their chin?
But she just had her hand up. It wasn't necessarily rubbing on her.
But why are you putting your mirror
Yeah,
up?
It almost looked like she was embarrassed, like to be on camera.
Yeah, that was my wife that came up with the compact, but also she said a clutch purse, and maybe she was scratching her ear with it in her hand.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, Jackie should know these things. Jacqueline.
I still think it's a phone.
Being the only female in the group.
Why do you think it's a phone?
I think.
Because I wouldn't hold up a piece of makeup to my face.
I don't know. I don't know any woman in my life that's ever held
Speak a
up a
little
piece
louder
of
so they can
makeup
hear
to their face like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no.
such a strange thing to do.
What about a small purse, a little clutch purse?
That could be possible.
That makes more
Or
sense
a
to me
wallet.
than a makeup, a flip makeup.
She could have had it up sideways. And I don't know. Maybe she was embarrassed and tried to hide her face.
Yeah, and she never closed anything. She just moved her hand down and watched the video. But it is interesting. I've seen quite a few different things on the time traveler, like you guys have brought up throughout the show, and they're interesting. But generally, there are logical conclusions of why it's not time travelers.
But are they? So I feel like sometimes those logical conclusions make more leaps in logic than time travel would dictate.
But then again, it could be your mind wanting it to be so much that you don't see the logical conclusion.
But what if you're just so conditioned by the nature of reality being concrete in your defined worldview that accepting something like that would just absolutely wreck it? So instead, you have to accept that it's a hoax of some sort and justify it by any means that your brain can accept.
Well, see, I can look at stuff and have an open mind, and I do that. That's one of the reasons I watch the Ancient Aliens and shows like that, is because I do have an open mind. And I do believe in ghosts. So I do have an open mind on that. But I try to look at things logically also.
No doubt. And I mean you as a collective you, not you specifically,
Right, no,
Marty.
I know. Yeah, no, I know you weren't targeting me. But, yeah, I'm not going to keep you all too long because it's getting close to dessert time for me.
Ooh, what's for dessert?
What you having?
I think I will have yogurt and cookies and milk.
Ooh.
Are you mixing the yogurt and the cookies, or are you eating them separately?
No, I take a bite of one and a bite of the other at the same time.
So you're mixing them by
And then a
proxy.
drink.
I like it.
Yes, yes.
And you think other people are going to call in after doing all this?
So that is my next thing to do. So I'm going to let you guys go and
Sounds
have more
good.
discussions.
Sounds good,
All
Marty.
right.
Thanks, Marty.
Thanks, Marty.
All right.
Always good to hear from you.
All right. Good night, guys. Hey, girl,
Have a
we'll
good
talk to you
one.
next
Appreciate
week.
you calling in.
Yep, no problem. Good night.
Good night.
Every time, Marty.
Always a pleasure.
He's always coming through for us. Yeah, he's fun to talk to.
Oh, aliens.
A lot of skepticism tonight, even from Marty, who's usually really open about stuff. He's skeptical about these pinata aliens.
I feel like the only one who thinks they're real.
I hear you are. He's
Does
skeptical
anybody
about...
out there support me?
No.
Please?
Apparently not. Like, honestly, it's quiet tonight. It's been quiet tonight. If you want to give us a call, it's 85732D-dial. We're at the last segment of our show here. We've probably got about 15 minutes left, maybe a little longer, 15, 20 minutes. If you want to call, talk about something paranormal, supernatural, or if you just want to talk about your dog.
Or your cat.
Our
Or your
dogs-
Mekele Mbembe.
Mokele Mbembe? If somebody has a Mokele Mbembe and calls from the Congo, some pygmy out there, I want to meet him.
We get the one satellite phone call.
Straight from the Congo.
I want a time traveler to call. Tell us what's going on.
Oh yeah. If you got an
Any
interest in
time
time
travelers out
traveling.
there,
Give us
please
a call.
hit us up. Hit us up in the past. Oh my God. Hit us up before I said this. That would be wacky.
Amazing.
That would be wacky. If I go back in a week and I watch our first episode and there's a call I don't remember in it, I get you. I get
That's-
you.
That's when you're really gonna Mandela affect me. My whole worldview might break down if that happens.
Remind me not to let anyone know that I'm going to go splice an extra
Yeah.
call.
Gonna be working hard in DaVinci Resolve to make it believable.
Oh, look at him though. He's like, whoo. He's like, whoo, man.
I just can't take it.
It's so goofy. It doesn't even look real, man.
It's ridiculous.
It doesn't look
y'all.
real, but is that a presupposition that you're just like, you don't want it to look real?
No, I want it to be real. It just, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Do I want it to
here.
be real too much?
I have no idea. That's what Marty said.
He looks salty.
Well, probably is.
Okay, hold on. Hear me out.
What else
Hear
was?
me out. Are you guys eating the alien jerky?
No, I'm not eating any alien jerky.
Are you eating the alien jerky, Gavin?
Do you mean Wendy's alien jerky?
I'm nibbling on the alien jerky a little bit.
Soon to come Wendy's alien jerky? No, because I don't trust that it's not something else.
I'm nibbling on the
Even
alien
grosser.
jerky. I'll let you know. I have a discernible palate. I can taste alien flesh immediately.
Is that right?
Yeah. I'm trained, practiced.
What's it taste like? Don't say chicken.
Mekele Mbembe.
Tastes like Mokele and Mbembe.
Yeah.
I lost the jams, man.
Yeah, we don't have no jerk.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Give us
I turned him off to talk to Marty. I don't like him getting in the way.
These are some kickin' jam.
Wendy's. Brought to you by Wendy's. Alien jerky.
I'd eat the Wendy's alien jerky. I'd do it.
I think, yeah, maybe.
That's what goes in their chili, bro. Yesterday's
I have
alien
liked their
jerky.
chili for a long time. Not gonna lie. And if they came out tomorrow and told me that alien jerky was the primary ingredient, I wouldn't stop eating their chili. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't.
What would get you to stop eating their chili?
Fingers in your chili.
No,
The thing.
their chili's pretty good. I think I'd deal with. I think I'd just pluck the finger out and drop it to the side.
So I mean, their whole
If they handed me an empty bowl of chili,
Wait, what?
Not
that
chili.
would stop me.
It's not chili. Like they. Okay.
You asked me what would stop me.
I mean, their whole shtick, right, is fresh, never frozen. So in other words, the beef's always supposed to be fresh.
Yeah. Well, this isn't frozen.
And I think that's the joke here is that, you know, that it's frozen meat, you don't want to eat that. Right?
So are you saying that the alien jerky's bad? That it's not high quality meats? Are you judging their entire species off this picture?
No, my understanding, however, is that in their chili they use yesterday's hamburgers
Yeah.
because they're fresh, right? So what else are you gonna do with them at the end of the day?
But toss them in the crock pot.
Throw them in the
and
chili.
Do overnight.
I'm okay with that. I don't know if it's true, but I'm okay with it if it is.
Hey, at least we're not the like forever soups that they have out in like India. They put the big pots of soup and they just cook them and just keep adding ingredients and serving people out of the same pot.
Like they
of
just
soup.
cook 24/7.
It just burns 100% of the time.
So there's like a small percentage of something in there that was there from like 10 years ago.
Yes.
That's gross. I guess if it was hot all the time,
Then theoretically it would be fine.
yeah, like theoretically couldn't hurt you.
Don't know if I'd
Because
want it.
it would be sanitary, I guess, but
Would it not just?
well, yeah. At what point does it lose all chemical structure and starts to break down into God knows what?
Just pure energy, pure light energy starts emitting from this pot. They're just sitting there stirring it. People are coming up and getting their bowls. They're paying their money, and all of a sudden, nuclear fission starts happening in front of them.
I mean, it sounds gross. I'm not gonna lie. Probably delicious though.
Delicious Wendy's chili. You guys like Wendy's chili?
Not
Honestly, I
think it's a
don't.
delicacy.
I like Chili's chili.
Never had chili at Chili's. Never.
Nobody gets chili. You're talking about the queso?
Yeah.
That's not chili though.
Chili con queso, duh.
Oh, I guess. I guess it is, huh?
That mean beans?
Chili con
and
queso.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember having Wendy's chili. I'm sure I've had it at some point. Do we need to go to Wendy's? I haven't been to Wendy's in a long time.
Oh no, the Wendy's here is all scary.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I was in there, I ate in there, and then the next day they got shut down for having rats in their kitchen.
Yeah, I would drive to.
Dude, everybody's got
bigger
rats in their
city.
kitchen. I say we take a risk.
I know,
we go
but
to
they got
Wendy's.
caught with rats in their kitchen.
Yeah, but everybody. I don't know.
There's one in Korea. I've been cooking for 45 plus
45 years.
Yeah. It's like an Eastern, like
Holy
a
cow.
Southeastern Asian thing. There's more places that do it. You see it crop up in like Singapore and Malaysia and places like that as well.
That's really weird. I didn't know about that.
Dude, there's some interesting culinary choices coming out of the whole world, honestly.
Yeah. Well, you're making me hungry. Should we sign off and eat something?
Yeah, I'm
I think
getting
it might be time for some food, everyone.
If you're gonna call, you better call right now because we're signing off. We'll stay on to talk to you, but
Only you, though.
gotta get that call in immediately. All right, guys. So, any final last words here?
No, thanks for joining us this evening. It was fun.
Absolutely. Make sure you check out the show archive so you can see all of these links up close and personal, and you don't have to pause and move around our video to read things. So check that out, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Gavin?
See you next Friday.
You can find us again. I've said it. Darkdial.com. We're on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, Instagram, Facebook. You can find it all. Darkdial.com is kind of the landing page. There's a link there that can get you to absolutely everything. If you want to join Darkdial.com, we want to talk to you about your experiences. If you've got experiences with paranormal, supernatural, anything, conspiracies, whatever it might be. Aside from that, you can find me, Gavin Green, on various social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter. You guys got anything else?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Cryptic J.
I'm still a ghost and have not set up an account yet. I'm sorry, but soon you'll be able to follow me.
You're not actually here.
Hiding behind the
You're a
mic.
ghost.
You guys want to do the thing one last time?
Ooh, the thing.
Let's do it.
Okay,
All
I'm ready
right,
to
here we
start.
go. 3, 2, 1.
Like, subscribe, notifications. Seriously, y'all go like,
Yeah.
subscribe.
Let us know we're
And-
doing an okay job.
And
Yeah.
if we're not doing an okay job,
Let
let
us
us
know
know
that
that
too.
too, please. Constructive criticism, deconstructive criticism, roast me in the comments for all I care, as long as I can get better about it, all right?
Yeah, I mean, legitimately. And we want to hear what you want to hear about, too. Hence, darkdial.com. Hence, you could just throw it in the comments. Hey, I want to hear more about John Teeter. Or, I want to hear more about Makili and Bembe, or that Justin Smahey guy who apparently shot 2 Bigfoots. That's coming up, just so you know. Fridays, YouTube Rumble, 6 o'clock Central. No, 8 o'clock Central. Excuse me. 6 o'clock Pacific. I butchered it.
What he said.
8 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Pacific. We'll see you there next Friday. Later,
See you
guys.
next Friday.